You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you, Friday morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, as we are 24 plus hours away from the best football weekend of the year? I don't think it's arguable. I'm sorry.
David, you know what that makes today then?
What's that?
A football Friday.
Yes, it does, and they are dwindling.
We don't have very many left.
No, we do not. 7 games left, and 4 of them are this weekend. Whatever your plans are, cancel them. Tell the people that you love and that love you, sorry, this is a biggie. This is a biggie. It's 2 days, 7 hours a day. Consider it a work shift.
And I tell you, thank goodness it's a football Friday in front of David Moulton's favorite football weekend of the year. Otherwise, I might have a David Moulton in the corner crying right now.
I don't know about in the corner crying, but, you know, every now and then somebody passes and it hits you. It's like a Duran hook to the body. Ooh. Meatloaf. Overnight. 74 years of age.
Will you go to Miller's Ale House and have meatloaf today for meatloaf?
No, but I am flying to Milwaukee and driving to Green Bay, and I am having meatloaf tonight.
There's no doubt in my mind that there are at least 14 places on that drive that you can stop and get a great meatloaf.
In fact, I may have it for a late lunch and for dinner.
I don't know how many times people go to Yelp for meatloaf, but David, today I think you can in Wisconsin, and I think you will be pleasantly surprised with your meatloaf options.
In fact, you know, we going to Green Bay, I think there's a chance for some karaoke breaking out. I think there is a chance to perform some meatloaf.
No,
tonight.
You're not going back to the well. It's been 30 years since you were doing this on a regular basis.
Well, that is true. The summer of 92, it was big. Quick story, I was in Binghamton, New York, local TV anchor. The station was dominant. Basically, if you were on that station, everybody knew who you were. And the Binghamton Mets, minor league baseball, returned to Binghamton for the first time in nearly a quarter century. So the games were sold out. They built this brand new ballpark, and the team was good. They ended up winning the championship, actually. And so it's the summer, and there's a watering hole just a couple blocks around the corner from the stadium. And every Friday night when they were home, you know, the games would end 10:30. The news 11, and so I'd get there by midnight, and between midnight and 2, at some point, Paradise by the Dashboard Light would play, and so a few of the Binghamton Mets and myself would make our way up, and, you know, I would do the Phil Rizzuto part.
I'm amazed that the players would sing. Was it managers and staff doing
No,
it?
Steve Swisher was the manager, and no, Steve was a curmudgeon. No. All right. Steve would not have done it. No, but the ball players, you know, they're all younger than me. I'm 26 at the time, and, you know, AA. I mean, there was only like one player on the team that was my age.
But you're, like we've said, and I'm not, this is mocking, you're an old soul. You know, with mom all that time, you listen to mom's music. So you having an affinity for Bat Out of Hell comes from your childhood. So that's why I'm surprised a bunch of ball players who that album was older than most of them, or at least as old.
Right. They were in grade school, but I will say that album had legs. Like, and I didn't realize it, because you're right. I was 11 when Bat Out of Hell was released. But, you know, Mark, there are certain albums, like Bat Out of Hell may have been the first vinyl album I had. It also was the first 8-track that we had. My mother had a longtime boyfriend named Bill, and in the mid to late 70s, he stumbled upon a 55 convertible T-Bird. It was like the 40th one ever built. It was fire engine red. I loved it. And it had an 8-track in it, because we didn't have an 8-track in the house.
Right.
But it had an 8-track. And the car came with 2 8-tracks. When he bought it, there were 2 8-tracks in the glove compartment that the owner forgot about. Beach Boys' Endless Summer and Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell. Played the heck out of both. With the top down in a 55 T-Bird. And then had the album. And it was one of the first albums that I remember having, that and the original Van Halen, the debut Van Halen album, were like the first 2 albums that I really remember having. And I think it wasn't VH1 in 77 also with Bat Out of Hell, wasn't it right around then?
VH1 was after MT.
No, the album. Because remember they did Van Halen and Van Halen 2. So I jokingly call it VH1.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 77-ish, 7. Yeah.
So anyway, Bat Out of Hell. I mean, my mom had all the Neil Diamond albums. Those were hers. I had Bat Out of Hell. So this was a hook to the body right there. This was, oh man, really? I'm out of the shower. Music is blaring in the house. It's 4:20 in the morning. My wife's on the treadmill blaring Meatloaf. I'm like, you were 7. She's like, oh, no, it was big.
There was a bar in East Lansing that had dollar pitchers on Monday night. And it was big at that bar. Paradise by the Dashboard Light would come on. It was your kind of bar. Couple of 7-foot pool tables, foosball table.
There we go. Right.
Great jukebox.
Yeah.
And that
floor was always dirty. Right.
Yeah.
It was messy. It was your hole in the wall.
I'm going to probably tick you off a little bit right now.
Okay.
Because I had to look this up. Rolling Stone has always done their rankings of albums, and
like top 50 albums,
top 500 actually is what they do of all time.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of there's been a lot of albums.
I understand that that's a list.
And Bat Out of Hell comes in at 343.
Okay.
That's what you and I like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously to me,
you was the top 10 rock album.
Well, and also I was into Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he was in that.
Right. So
I was a big fan. Never mind the fact that, come on, his name was Meatloaf, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, but you were skinny back then.
I ate everything that wasn't nailed down, though, from an early age. I mean, come on, his name was Meatloaf. He was huge, and his voice was unlike any. I mean, he was basically opera-like, yet sang rock and roll.
I will say part of the Stain part, if you remember, Paradise by the Dashboard Light had a live track to it.
Right.
Video live track.
Right.
Which meant in the early days of MTV,
right,
when there was no videos, that got a decent amount of play. That was my introduction to that song, was on MTV.
That's fair enough.
I mean, I know I had heard it before. I knew the song because I grew up listening to rock. So I knew the song, I knew the album, but the lasting impression of that is he and that lady doing their unbelievable rendition of Paradise by the Dashboard Light, where it looks like they're going to fornicate on stage. And when you're a young person watching, the big man
right
on MTV,
right,
with someone that he's definitely out kicking the coverage, even though it's a song, you're like, he's pretty cool. Look at the fat guy.
As Adam in our Twitch chat room said, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Yeah, heard that a lot on
that
MTV.
was his comeback.
Right.
That was a big comeback. And you have to see, that's part of the music world. They loved Bat Out of Hell, and they loved that voice. He was critically acclaimed. So when he makes a comeback, they all jumped on board.
Right. So sold 85 million albums, and over half of them were Bat Out of Hell. At age 30.
I like the one quote in our Twitch chat room, though, that you brought out of someone. Because your whole story began with your mother's boyfriend.
Right.
And the car and the 8-track.
Right.
Johnny Mac says, I'm starting to remember all mom's boyfriends now. Wow, those are funny memories.
My mom had the same boyfriend throughout the 70s. So that was real easy.
My dad had the same girlfriend throughout the 70s. I never knew her. He was married to my mom.
Hello.
Whoa.
Good morning, friend. Starting a little early, aren't we? That's a great line. Hope your mom's listening. I think she'd even get a chuckle out of it. Now.
Maybe.
Statute of limitations.
Well,
you know?
I mean, it better be good. He's dead.
Well, right. He's talking to Meatloaf.
Welcomed him in.
So, all right, full disclosure. I get here first, usually. Every now and then, Felipe's here first. I get here first, and I'm a little early today. And I'm sitting in the studio, doors wide open. Felipe comes in. Felipe always comes in and makes an announcement of some kind. His presence felt, something.
And understand that David sends out a text that tells us what's coming up on the show. David books the show. He books the guests. And usually it's at 5:45. While we're sitting here, I said, hey, send me the text because I do some stuff on Twitter and put the lineup up on a few places.
Speaking of which, I got to retweet that stuff.
So when I got a text this morning at 4:55 a.m.
That's right.
The first thing I thought was, holy blank, Moulton thought the show started at 5 again. Then I thought I was you. And I'm like, wait a minute, did I oversleep? And once we established that it still wasn't 5 o'clock in the morning, I went, wow, David's on his game today. I didn't even read the text. I just happened to see that you said it because I was about to go walk the dog. So David was on his game very early this morning, which gets him here even earlier than normal.
And I hear the door down the hall close, and I know it's Felipe, so I'm waiting for it. I'm counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, and sure enough, he appears around the corner like yesterday. You know, what did he do? Door was closed yesterday. He busts it open and he says, Heat are winning the East, and glares at me and then goes into his studio.
He is special.
Right. Today, all right, he is, doors open. He looks at me, looks at his phone, looks at me, looks at his phone, looks at me again and says, and I quote, "What's a meatloaf?"
I'm pretty sure I said, who the hell is
No,
meatloaf?
no. You said,
see, here's the one thing,
what's
Felipe,
a meatloaf?
we're really aware of what you say.
Yes.
You say a lot. And I don't think you're aware 90% of the time of actually what it is you say.
Wait, it's coming back. I did say that.
Like I'm making it up. Okay. But the best was the triple take. Phone me. What's a meatloaf? Now I can't get mad at him. First off, I got shirts older than him. Hell, I'm practically wearing one. Secondly, all right, he's 21.
Right.
Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell was in 77. Okay, I will do anything for love, but I won't do that. It was 10 years before he was born.
Right.
I can't get mad at him. It was just very funny. You didn't say who's Meatloaf. All right.
What's a meatloaf?
What's a meatloaf? That's spectacular.
I was confused by the text because it said Meatloaf dies at 74. I'm like, Meatloaf?
If Meatloaf dies at 74, music in and out of breaks.
Felipe's
And
thinking,
Felipe's going, I've had a meatloaf.
Wait.
I've had it with gravy. I've had it with
Right.
ketchup. I don't know how the hell I'm going to play it in the studio today.
yeah, Meatloaf's thinking, wait a minute, Cracker Barrel's done serving meatloaf? What?
I'm like, what radio term is this that I don't know about?
So, if you have someone under the age of 30 in your life, all right, you may want to play the game that Miller and Moulton just played this morning. Tell that person that Meatloaf died and wait to see their reaction.
In fact, I think we should both do it with our children. Because if your daughter says, what's a meatloaf
Right.
to you, then there might be problems.
I'll be very disappointed, I must admit. I will feel I will have failed.
It's not being, trust me, if she doesn't know, don't be upset at her.
No,
Be upset with yourself.
Absolutely. And I'll blame my wife, too, because she's
Both of
blaring
you.
it all morning.
Both of you.
Both of our faults. 15 minutes after the hour. It is a football Friday. We've got a great guest list lined up for you. Pat Kirwan in less than 2 hours. Miller and Moulton. Meatloaf passed away overnight at the age of 74. Reminisce accordingly.
2 out of the 3 of us knew who it was, David.
Right.
And you know what? That ain't bad. Thanks for listening to Florida Sports Network.
We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moore on the Florida Sports Network.
I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. Is 12 minutes long. Holy bleep.
Yeah, we don't need any music coming in on a break
No.
because it can't play on Twitch and YouTube anyhow.
No.
No, I'm not.
But
I'm listening to
yeah,
it on my headphones.
Meatloaf, like Bat Out of Hell, I think was 8 songs, and the album was like 50 minutes. I mean, the average song on the album was over 6 minutes.
Oh my.
I mean, Meatloaf did songs that, like, if you would go see a band, and oftentimes they'll take a 4-minute song and turn it into a 6-7 minute song live. Yeah, Meatloaf recorded like the live version of songs. His songs were epically long.
Super 70s sports got a guy in bed firing up a heater. It's nothing like enjoying a lung dart after taking yet another satisfied 70s lady to Pleasure Town. Guy underneath writes, you can hear someone getting ice from the ice machine in the hallway, the hum of the interstate, and an argument in the parking lot.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The hum of the interstate and an argument in the parking lot. God dang, that's good.
Look at Samuel Joel. People are quoting lines now. Now I'm praying for the end of time so I can end my time with you. Yep.
I'm going to call my dad and tell him Meatloaf died. See what he says.
Yeah, your mom stopped cooking meatloaf years ago.
We don't eat that gringo food.
It's very gringo, yeah.
There is nothing more gringo than meatloaf right
Meatloaf.
there. Nothing says Midwestern white quite like meatloaf.
Oh, God.
Julie. Oh, my. Great segment.
Yeah,
LMAO. Nicely done.
She said it to me, too.
Blasting meatloaf this morning was my wife.
What's so big about FSU beating Duke in basketball? Nothing.
No, they were only a 5-point dog. As our buddy Jeff Cameron in Tallahassee said, we don't storm the court for beating Duke. We beat Duke in Tallahassee all the time.
I think it's just the fact that they got to beat Coach K one more time.
Anytime you can do that, it's a good thing.
I will say, I'll give Krzyzewski credit. Last year, he started the Leonard Hamilton belongs in the Hall of Fame beat.
Talk. Yeah. Beat.
There was
a couple, but not many Canada relief.
There was a great story, and I didn't realize this. Leonard Hamilton was the first black assistant coach at Kentucky, and Joe B. Hall hired him. And so when he died, Leonard Hamilton, there was a really terrific article written about what Joe B. Hall meant to Leonard Hamilton and the significance of Hamilton being hired and all that. I didn't realize that.
Lane's trying to get the receiver and quarterback that Georgia just lost. God,
Sure.
I love it. I love the transfer portal.
Well, yeah, isn't the transfer portal like the first 8 days of July for the NBA?
What do you make of this Constitution? Anything, David?
No.
$30 seconds.
Basically all Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, they can make their own rules as to NIL and what they want to do.
Was that
Died from COVID?
Who did?
Meatloaf. That's what TMZ's saying.
from COVID? Oh, damn.
Only 74.
10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us on this Football Friday edition of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Are we going to go with the poll question today that we said we were going to go with yesterday?
Something about football games and who's going to win?
Right.
Makes a lot of sense on a football Friday.
I understand, but you're convinced, okay, that there's another question that would get a lot more votes because it's non-sports related. And let's face it, all right, we do a sports poll question, we get X number of votes. We do a non-sports poll question, we get XXX number of votes.
I got you. We may have to do two because the other one's so juicy. And it is
All
a
right.
football Friday. There are only a few left. By the way, just quickly, do you know how Meatloaf got his nickname? Who gave him his nickname?
He was on Larry King a few times.
Larry King did not give him his nickname.
But the story that I saw that he told on Larry King was that it happened when he was 8 years old and that the neighborhood kids nicknamed him Meatloaf, and it short for meat. And everybody called him Meat.
Oh, okay. Because the story I got on TMZ, which I trust for anything like this, was that he got it from his football coach in high school.
Okay.
Which, makes perfect sense because of his weight.
Sure.
His first band was called Meatloaf Soul.
Did not know that. We bring that up in case you're just joining us. Meatloaf passed away overnight at the age of 74. And depending on how old you are, like Felipe came in, saw the news and said, quote, "What's a meatloaf?" And I can't get mad at him. I can't. And I'm challenging anyone who is 40 or older to ask your kids or grandkids or whatever the case may be, ask them, hey, Meatloaf died, and just see what their reaction is. Whether or not they think Cracker Barrel took it off the menu or whether or not they know it's the artist.
Sent the text to my son already. He's going to wake up with a text from his dad that just says Meatloaf died. Can't wait for the reaction.
4 good games. We will dive into them in earnest. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. We'll go through every game. We have 2 other guests on the show, one representing the Bills, one representing the Chiefs' point of view, which is probably the heavyweight of heavyweight matchups.
Absolutely.
And it's the last game. It's the late one on Sunday. But our poll question's going to be pretty simple. We've got the Bengals, we've got the Niners, we've got the Rams, and we've got the Bills on the road. All of them underdogs by less than a touchdown. So they're all live dogs, as we like to say. Which one do you give the best chance of winning? On average, one road team wins in the divisional round. Obviously, there are years when more than one. There are years when all 4 home teams win. It's rare, if you look back, that it's 1 versus 2 in both conferences. Usually there's somebody that crashes the party. I mean, think about last year. We had Chiefs Bills 1-2 on the one side. We had 1-5. We had Packers Bucks
right
on the other. Tampa Bay going into New Orleans and knocking off the Saints. That's an typical divisional round weekend.
I definitely have one road team winning. I hope I have the right one winning. I've been on the Bengals all week. I don't see that changing between now and whenever the hell we decide to make picks today.
I think we'll do it, probably do it twice during the 4-hour show because the audience is constantly changing. Probably do it.
I can pick one set one time and I'm going to have a great weekend.
That's true. We'll have audio to back up any pick you want. Right.
I picked the Bengals.
Boy, you sound like one of the Wayne Allen Root, one of those touts in Vegas. I had this one. Well, yeah, you did 37 radio shows. You covered yourself. You've got audio picking everybody.
Right. You got an over and under.
Sure.
Money line. You did the whole thing. All right. How many road teams will win this weekend? I put 0, 1, 2, and then 3 or more.
Okay.
Because I mean,
that's fine. That's fine. Didn't know if you wanted to go which team is the best shot or fine. The number of road teams. That's good. That'll work. I'm going 2, by the way. I'm going 2. You're going 1. I'm going 2.
And you're going Bills and
no. Come on now.
Well, I know it's
Come
Bills.
on now.
You've been on the Bills since September, David.
Come on now.
You did.
It's called a tease, Mark. It's called a tease. We need to effectively tease. But yes, one of the two is the Bills. You've been on the Bengals. I've been on the Bills. Sean Salisbury on the show yesterday picked them both.
And picked both home teams in the NFC.
Yep.
Saying that it would be Green Bay hosting Tampa Bay and Buffalo hosting Cincinnati. In the 2 coolest championship games back-to-back that we've probably ever had.
See whether or not Ryan Fitzpatrick shows up at that one shirtless. But that would be something, though. 3 hosting a 4. It's been a while since we had one of those. I think when
hey, look, the Buffalo hosting one would just be cool.
Period. It would be. Would bring back memories. You know, kind of like when Meatloaf was big.
I just got off the phone with my dad, by the way, about Meatloaf.
All right.
Hey, who is Meatloaf? Oh, yeah, he was a big fat singer who sang very well.
Oh, it's a perfect description.
Can't argue with him.
And then he goes, yeah, he sang that song, because I love you, because I need you. And I was like, oh, God, stop. Please stop.
It's your dad.
Well,
He's got plenty of leeway.
Well, first off, for you to try to tell another human being to stop communicating in any way, shape, or form is a bit much, Felipe.
It's rich on the irony scale. It is.
It's hypocrisy.
Yes. Yes.
With a capital hip. Yes. Yeah. So, well, that's good. That's good. He knew who Meatloaf was. Described him to a T. Unique voice, though. Unique voice. Big voice. He was the rock ballad. Right, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, sure. This is one where I'm going to defend you as best I can, but I do not have nearly the same affinity for Meatloaf. I mean, he had one great album.
Yes. No, I'm just saying that with his voice and most of the music that he did, it was, rock love song ballad type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And some people love that and love songs like that. And some people are like, oh, for goodness sakes, could you just give me a hard rock and roll song?
Well, there's a reason why your wife's going to have this cranking all day. This hits
absolutely.
Your wife went right. This is the reason why your wife loved the Bon Jovi and the big hair, because that 80s, there was 2 brands of 80s metal. There was the hardcore metal bands, and then there became the poppy metal that lived for the rock ballad. I'm guessing your wife lived for the rock ballad.
Apparently so. I found that out this morning.
You know, don't drink, don't smoke, but I'm guessing at some point she owned a cigarette lighter so she could do this at a concert. Felipe's now looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
Oh, come on.
We use our cell phones for that.
I wish I got to experience that. That was probably cool. Although the cell phones do project a brighter light.
It doesn't matter. It's not a lighter, and there's not an ambient smoke of marijuana all the way through the arena that you can't do anymore.
Well, depending on
the state, yes.
Depending on the artists that you go see. Oh, it doesn't really matter with the state, depending on the artist.
29 minutes before the hour. The starting five is next. It is a meatloaf-free zone. All right, I promise you that. It's a meatloaf-free zone.
In that case, I wish I'd have ordered some. I could just, while you're doing the starting five, I could be eating meatloaf.
And how many of us are going to have... It is a Friday, and I know that those out there... What are you, John?
Meatloaf.
What are you, John Clayton, all of a sudden?
If I order
Will Ferrell.
If I order some, I'll be sure to let you guys know this time around.
Miller and Moulton. Starting five is next. Thanks for waking up with us on this Football Friday edition on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I'm not talking about noon and 5.
Right.
Both times. I'm like, I don't know how these people do it around here. She's like, and she goes, yeah, and then wait till spring training comes. And I'm like, don't have to worry about that.
I don't worry about it this year, honey.
And but how out of sight that? Because no one's talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
She went, what? Oh, there could be spring training. She goes, what do you mean there's talking? I get the tickets on sale. I've seen all that. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I go, let me put it to you this way. I won't bore you with baseball stuff because I don't know if you care. I go, but the two of them actually agree on a subject. And they can't agree that they agree on the subject because they hate one another so much.
Anybody else hear the slight echo besides Spitz? Okay.
It's gone. I thought I'd stopped it once, but somehow something got unhit. My bad. No, it's not Twitch. It was me. It should be gone now.
That line about the meatloaf. Mom, the meatloaf. That's from Wedding Crashers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first softball practice last night.
Okay. Softball practice.
Maddie.
Oh.
We started softball.
Huh.
We do everything. I wanted to play everything.
I know. I hadn't heard softball.
But you had to, I thought you were going to be really right about your thought on baseball. Baseball is just as expensive as everything else now. In order for me to play softball for my daughter, I had to buy a bat, $40, a helmet, a face mask for said helmet, and then the thing that the infielders in softball wear now so they don't get hurt. Like they wear something over their face in the field, like a shield. 150, and I'd get her new gloves. So I was $150.
Okay.
Now outside of the glove.
Hold on. Every kid has their own bat?
Yeah, you have to.
Why?
Because that's what they tell us, David. That's what the fucking thing says.
That's
because
ridiculous.
We can't have one bat for 10 kids to hit like we've done throughout the goddamn annals of time.
I was going to say 2 or 3 helmets, 3 bats.
No, God forbid a kid shares a helmet with another kid.
What's wrong with that?
They don't do that.
Why?
because they have to have their own now. I'm telling you, they sent me what I was required to have for my kid. It wasn't fucking optional.
I mean, you showed up with a glove.
Thank you.
But
think about it. I'm not being a jerk here. There was 2 kids that looked like they might not have had money at this thing. Everybody else looked like they came from rich white parents.
Well, yeah. Well, that's another reason. Well, here's the other thing. So what is it? There should be no dues then. If we're providing all the
another $50 that I had to pay.
Why?
You're
not providing anything.
I'm not sure for umpires
who are $15 a game or $20, whatever they are.
I don't know. I've always wanted to challenge these people because they get the fields for free. They don't pay for the fields. The county owns the fields.
By the way, what's probably going to end up happening is that every single kid's going to have a bat, but there's only going to be 3 or 2 bats that are going to be used.
No, they're all the same bat. There's 3 kids that have the same damn bat.
Same. Oh, because when I played baseball, we had.
I mean, you go to Dick's and there's only so many. It's girls softball, so there's a pink bat.
True, right?
They all have the pink bat.
There's always that one bat that this one kid had that everyone wanted to use.
Yeah,
and then everyone would get base knocks.
But basically, when I played, the coach had 4 or 5 bats and just grabbed one of those.
Wood or
it's funny. I played Little League and you could use aluminum. I always loved wood bats.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Now I used the I bought $40 for an Easton Little League softball. Yep.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, man.
I mean, that's you chip in on the team buys bats and balls. You showed up with a glove.
Thank you.
And you paid for a uniform. And the responsibility was you to wash it and be cleaned for every game.
It's not that way. I could have remembered this from Jacob. That ended a long time. Every kid's got to have their own bat. Then they all have their own bat bags. I mean, you're $200 just to get started in this. I will say, Philly, you do need to watch Paradise by the Dashboard Light, the video. When you not during the show.
My mom and my dad were shouting that on the phone, actually. We're back in 10.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. Nice that the warmest day of the week is the last one of the work week. A lot more comfortable out there, up and down I-75 from Lake City to Tampa St. Pete to Fort Myers, Naples. We will head to Buffalo next hour, begin our football previews. Pat Kirwan to join us in a little more than an hour to go through every game as he sees it. We'll make our picks next hour. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Tidbits, Mark. NFL tidbits. That's what I got for you. Injuries. Randall Cobb came off IR yesterday, set to play for the Packers. You know who's likely not going to play? Valdez-Scantling, doubtful with his back injury. Bakhtiari and Jair Alexander have been limited 2 of the last 3 days in practice. In fact, Bakhtiari is going backwards in terms of trying to practice. So, will they be active for the game on Saturday night? But will they? My guess is Jair Alexander plays more than Bakhtiari. Bakhtiari might be the swing tackle in the game.
Give you 20 snaps?
Yeah, if need be.
Right.
And there in case somebody gets hurt, even though he's recovering from an injury. Joey Bosa, Fred Warner, all practiced in full yesterday for the Niners, so expect them to play. Good news for the Bengals. Their sack leader, Trey Hendrickson, he had 14 during the season, cleared to play tomorrow afternoon.
That's big.
Coming off concussion protocol. They desperately need him.
Yes, they did, because they lost the other one with the Achilles or whatever the case may be.
And they take on the Titans, and we have to know by this afternoon whether or not they're going to take Derrick Henry off of IR. He did practice for a second straight day yesterday and was not limited. It would be a surprise if he is not taken off IR today and active for the game on Saturday. All right, what's Andy Reid going to do, Mark? Linebacker Willie Gay arrested, pled not guilty. It is a misdemeanor charge of property damage. Willie Gay, who's been outspoken about his battles with mental health, and he fathered a child with this woman. He went over to see, I think it's a 3-month-old. They got into an argument. It was not a domestic, battery charge, but apparently in his anger, he trashed an iron and a couple of other things, but damaged less than $1,000. And that's why it is misdemeanor property damage. Andy Reid will be asked about Willie Gay's status today. Do you think he plays?
For Andy Reid? Hell yes, I think he plays. Andy Reid's a great football coach. He's never given a damn about what people do. Sorry.
Andy is the second, third, fourth chance guy. The only thing I am going to throw out there is this is the first example in the playoffs since the tragic events of last year, almost at this time. And I wonder if Andy Reid will be a little tougher now than he ever was before.
Boy, oh boy. David, I'm being brutally frank here. I have trouble seeing how he could be. When you pass having that on your children and then you're going to do it to one of your players, I don't know how you do it.
No, I think because it's misdemeanor property damage that Willie Gay will play. May not start, but I think he will play. I will be surprised.
If you're going to not start him, or if you're going to play him, start him. I mean, for the love of God, just go ahead. Do what you're going to do.
College football news. Kendall Briles has been the offensive coordinator at Arkansas the last 2 years and was reportedly being pursued by Mr. Cristobal and the Canes. Briles got a new deal to stay at Arkansas. Cal head coach Justin Wilcox got a new deal to stay in Berkeley for the next 5 years. College hoops, here's the good news. 137 Division I games last night between the men and women. Only 10 of them postponed because of COVID.
And I even think one of those, if I'm not mistaken, was a game by Gonzaga Pacific game, and Gonzaga ended up playing someone else. So, I mean, even within those cancellations, they were moving to live games in cases.
Gonzaga, USC, UCLA, Arizona, Providence, all ranked teams who all won last night. The one ranked team who lost was fourth-ranked Purdue, got beat late at Indiana. Nice to see the Purdue-Indiana game be good because that is a tremendous rivalry.
It's a really big win for the Hoosiers.
Mike Woodson off to a good start.
It's a really big win. I mean, come on. We need Indiana to be good at basketball.
Yes,
better
we
for
do.
The damn sport.
Damn right it is. 68-65 Hoosiers with the win. 25th ranked UConn was also a winner mark yesterday. They whacked Butler. We've been detailing Butler's demise. That coach is going to get fired. But UConn may have won on the court, but they lost off court. Remember when they fired Kevin Ollie a few years ago and they said, yeah, we're not paying you. You committed a bunch of NCAA violations. You violated your contract. We don't have to pay you. And he went, come on, you're making this stuff up. You owe me $11 million. Well, they went to arbitration. The arbiter ruled in Kevin Ollie's favor.
4 years.
Yeah. Right. Almost $3 million a year, $11.1 million. They owe Kevin Ollie, and they don't just owe it to him, Mark. They owe it to him in the next 10 business days.
Any chunk of interest? I'm not kidding. I'm wondering if, because that's 4 years, guys had to wait for his money. It's not like he doesn't need it.
Just letting you know. In state last night, Florida State beat North Florida 86-73. FIU and FAU were both victorious. FIU by 4 over Marshall. FAU by 9 over Western Kentucky. Women's basketball, the Gators with a big win. They beat 23rd ranked Kentucky by 25. Miami edged Florida State by 7. FAU and FIU also lost. NBA, best team in the league's Phoenix. I don't think there's any debate now. They went into Dallas, rallied from 8 down in the fourth quarter to win 109-101. Devin Booker with 28. How about this little stat line for ancient Chris Paul? 20 points, 11 assists, no turnovers.
I'll play.
Yeah, it really will. The Suns are 35-9. New Orleans went to New York, beat the Knicks 102-91. And Indiana went into the Bay Area and beat Golden State in overtime, 121-117. We have to stop talking about the Warriors and the Suns for best record. We got to start talking about the Warriors trying to hold off Memphis for the second best record in the West. The Bulls' Lonzo Ball knee surgery is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. That'll be very interesting. They've been the best team in the East record-wise for a little while. Let's see how Chicago holds up there. Mark, the Panthers, after getting whooped by Calgary, went to Edmonton and whooped up on the Oilers. 6-0, Bobrovsky with 40 saves.
How Edmonton can get shut out by the Florida Panthers at home is real. I thought this game was going to be 6-5. I was excited to watch in the first period 0-0. I'm like, what the hell?
I know nobody cares about the Edmonton Oilers, but this is a hell of a stat. They've lost 7 in a row, which in and of itself in hockey is hard to do because, a lot of games end up tied and you go to overtime, shootouts, the whole deal. But they've lost 7 straight. In and around the 7-game losing streak, they've had 8 games postponed because of COVID protocol, which means the Edmonton Oilers have not won a game since December 18th. That's 5 weeks tomorrow. It's a professional hockey team at the highest level. They haven't won a game in 5 weeks between COVID and their own bad play. Huh. You want to talk about an unhappy group of campers. Man, oh man, that's another coach. I don't know if he lasts a month. Boston 4-3 over Washington. Charlie McAvoy with the game winner with less than a minute to go. However, Brad Marchand, cheap shot too, up against the boards, back to the player. A cheap shot.
It was. And when someone who gives cheap shots for a living gets a cheap shot, there's not nearly the sympathy there would be. It was a horrible cheap shot. I saw it.
Well, and I'll tell you what, there's a difference between cheap and dirty. Marchand, I think, is cheap. Okay. I don't think Marchand would do to a player what that player did to him, though. I mean,
yeah, I'm on the other side of the fence there, David.
Okay. All right.
I think he's a dirty player.
Marchand with a shoulder injury. It'll be interesting to see how severe it is and how long he is out. Bruins beat the Caps 4-3. Penguins 6-4 over Ottawa. And the best team in hockey is who we thought it was going to be at the beginning of the year. It's the Colorado Avalanche. They beat the Kings 4-1. I know Carolina, Florida, Tampa, the Avs have won. They're 10-0-1 in their last 11. They've got the most points in the West, and they got games in hand on everybody. All right. At least out West, the road to the Cup's going to go through Denver. Now, do they have the goaltending? Them in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Them in Florida.
And you're on the phone with Chicago.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
You ready?
Hello?
Are you ready?
We'll take him. Golf, Lee Hodges and Patrick Cantlay both shot 10 under 62s. They have a 2-shot lead over the field at the American Express. Aussie Open, Jessica Pegula, the daughter of the owner of the Bills and Sabres, the Pegula family. She's through to the 4th round again. She's been wearing Bills colors.
Thank goodness she's not wearing Sabres colors. She got knocked out in the first round.
She's been wearing Bills colors, and during every post-match interview is talking about the big game on Sunday in Kansas City. Madison Keys, Mark, through to the 4th round. Sebastian Corda lost in 4 sets in the 3rd round. There is a neat story on the men's side, though. Remember, Djokovic was going to play a fellow Serb, like the 85th ranked guy in the world, Miomir Kekmanovic. All right, Miomir Kekmanovic is his name. Well, if you get bounced in the first round, you make $74,000. Don't get me wrong; it's a pretty good day's work. But he got a walkover because Djokovic got deported.
Easiest match he's ever played.
Right. Well, next thing you know, 2 wins later, he's through to the 4th round. He's guaranteed a little less than $250,000 right now. So Djokovic getting deported right now, along with a couple of wins, has made his fellow Serbian about $163,000 more dollars.
Well, good for Joker. At least he's a giving soul.
Right. At least something good can come out of that whole mess. And at 10 minutes before the hour, that mark was...
That was the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Poll question is up. How many road teams are going to win this weekend? Right now, the voters are between 1 and 2. Nobody thinks 0 thus far. Go to that Mark Miller soon at the David Moulton on Twitter. You can check out the show, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. We ask you to follow and subscribe.
And you are. Mark Miller's pleas are not falling on deaf ears. He's figured it out. If 2 of you will follow/subscribe to us every show, and then we're going to do our big NFL draft weekend. And if we get our normal amount of signees up during that, Mark will win his bet of 1,000 followers by July 4th.
That's all that matters to me anymore. So twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton, and then just follow us to Twitch.
Mark, you monitor the text line. We both monitor the Twitch chat room. I don't know about you, but with the passing of Meatloaf overnight at the age of 74, we are getting text, comments in the Twitch chat room. I don't know if you've received any personal texts. I've received a couple of people just quoting Meatloaf lyrics.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of 2 out of 3 ain't bad coming at us today, David.
Hot patootie, rest my soul. I mean, a lot of stuff that is coming,
Hopefully it's therapeutic for you, David.
Well, and I think it's therapeutic for the listener as well. I mean, Mark, I will do anything for love, but I won't do that. We've gotten that a few times as well. So we're here for you if need be.
David's here for you if need be.
You're here just a little bit, though. Only for the Bat Out of Hell album part. To a point. You're like,
to a point.
You're like, oh, Bat Out of Hell was really good. It was. That was it. It is fascinating, though. Forget Meatloaf for a second. With athletes, we talk about this, too. I mean, think about it. Meatloaf's 74 years old. He had a 50-plus year career. Yet, the peak, without question, was when he was 30. I mean, it's very much like an athlete's life was his life. And in a way, and I mean, he went to therapy for 2 years. He said, I had, all of a sudden I became a star. I was 30. It's my first album. I had no idea how to handle this. It messed me up. We've talked to many an athlete as they're playing, and then we've talked to them afterwards. And, oftentimes the highlight of their professional life will be when they're in their 20s or early 30s. And then what do you do after that?
And the difference, at least in his case, he could live off that album,
right?
And perform it and keep going until he was 74 years old.
I mean, our theme yesterday was Stetson Bennett IV basically just produced Bat Out of Hell. Okay. And why is he trying to produce a sequel?
Because everybody wants to do it again, David. It's not that easy to have a great second album. You could ask Meatloaf. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football is simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Can he work on things during the show? Okay. I just didn't know technologically. Did you send that clip to Tressman? Thank you. They're going to put it up on their site.
Awesome.
Jack is 82 today.
Wow.
Mark Billy Ocean is 72. And Robbie Benson is 66.
Get out of my dreams and into my car.
One of the comments underneath that $30 million was, oh, you're going to make someone insane and give them unlimited resources.
I thought it's a 30 billion.
Or 30 billion. You
Yeah.
give someone 30, you're going to make someone insane and give them unlimited resources.
Right.
All right, I just sent it.
Awesome. Thank you.
A bill has been introduced in Iowa that seeks to classify college athletes as employees.
10 seconds.
Oh, boy.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday.
Football Friday.
Here on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. We'll make our picks coming up next segment on the divisional playoff. Bengals Titans, Niners Packers tomorrow, Rams Bucks Bills Chiefs on Sunday. Mark, I'm not trying to move you off your pick. I just, the one road team that we think you are riding is the Bengals. I mean, we know you're riding them.
Who day?
Not who dat.
No.
Who day.
Who day?
You do know the Bengals have never won a road playoff game, right?
They're due.
That is certainly one way to argue it. Here is the other thing. The Titans have been the number 1 seed twice before, and both times got beat at home in the divisional round. So there you have it. 2000, they were the 1 seed. Ray Lewis and the Ravens came in, won the fourth quarter and beat them. It was tied going to the fourth. Eddie George dropped that little swing pass, bounced off his hand. Lewis picked it off, returned it for a touchdown, and that salted away the Baltimore win. They would go on to win the Super Bowl. And then the last time the Titans were the 1 was 2008. And I think it was Baltimore who came in and beat them again. And then the Ravens lost to the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. A rookie named Joe Flacco went in there and won.
Here's another little stat for you.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Tannehill's never won a home playoff game.
Well, that is true. He's only played 1. It was last year they lost to Lamar and the Ravens. This just in, the Titans have done pretty well at home, except when they play the Ravens. Baltimore's got their number, baby.
And who's got Baltimore's number? Cincinnati. So by process of elimination, I am not backing off of the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's how you're doing the 1 + 1 equals.
You know what? There's a lot of math and there's circles and arrows, a paragraph on the back of each one. But David, the thing that scares me the most about this game is, and you gave me some comfort in your starting 5, is the health of that defensive line.
Well, they got their best defensive lineman
back.
Yep. Trey Hendrickson cleared off of concussion protocol. He of the 14 sacks this year. They gave him a long-term big money deal 2 years ago. It's turned out to be, I don't want to say a bargain, but it's turned out to be a really good move by the Bengals, who don't give many long-term significant money deals throughout their history.
And a lot of people point to the Bengals offensive line, and look, at Joe Burrow's going to get sacked. Joe Burrow is going to get sacked probably 3 times. You know why? Because he gets sacked 3 times every football game.
Well, and he does hold on to it. I mean, some of it is on him. He does hold on to it longer than is ideal sometimes. And he's willing to take the sack and take the hit to try to make a play with those receivers. One thing I will say, the Titans have one of the worst slot corners in the playoffs. At the slot position, teams have torched the Titans this year. So early in this game, whoever it is that you see lining up in the slot, probably going to have a really big game for the Bengals.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, even with the ability to sack Burrow, the back end to me, and the entirety of the Titans back end is not great. And I think there's a big advantage for Joe Burrow with those receivers. I think that tight end can have a nice game as well. They have a great runner in Mixon. We keep talking about Derrick Henry all the time. The best runner in this football game right now is probably Mixon.
A little Rams-Bucks fodder for you. They've met twice in the playoffs before. Rams won both times. Now, both times were NFC championship games. Got to go all the way back to 79, first time the Bucks made the playoffs. Rams came to the big sombrero, beat them 9-0.
I remember that game as a young kid and how bummed I was. I was rooting for the Creamsicles. So hard.
So was I, because my grandmother, my mother's mom, who ironically, a huge Notre Dame fan, yet always loved the USC head coach, John McKay, thought he was funny. So,
and, I don't remember that. Mine was simply that at that point, I'm coming to Marco Island on vacation. The Lions were the Lions.
Right.
So,
what the heck?
It's a Florida team. Let's pick the Florida team. That's all it was. I'd driven through Tampa several times in my life already. I'm like, let's go Bucks.
Well, and the Bucks thought they got a huge break the week before because Vince Veracamo and the Rams went down to Dallas and upset Staubach and the Cowboys, who were the clear favorites in the NFC that year. And next thing you know, Tampa's hosting the darn NFC Championship game. It's like, oh my goodness. But the Rams won 9-0. And then 20 years later, the greatest show on turf. And to this day, I blame the Bucks and their play calling. They were up 6-5 mid-fourth quarter. And if you remember the game, they could have just handed the ball off 3 times and punted the rest of the game. And I don't think the Rams are kicking that field goal to beat them. And instead, I think it was Mike Shula was the offense coordinator and called a screen pass. And it got picked off near midfield. And it gave the Rams the short field and Warner to Ricky Prohl 11-6 in the NFC Championship game. So basically every 20 years, Mark, these franchises play in the playoffs.
And the Bucks offensive line banged up against a team that can get to the passer with 4. We all know where the Bucks are at receiver. Very different Tampa team than a year ago. A lot of injuries that they are dealing with.
Meanwhile, the Rams and the Bucks have played twice. All right. The Bengals and the Titans, who before that were the Oilers, who have only met once in the playoffs. Then you've got the Niners and the Packers, who are playing in the playoffs for the 9th time. 9th time San Francisco and Green Bay have met in the playoffs. It ties them all time with the Cowboys and the Rams facing one another. I think most people, if we said, hey, which 2 teams have faced one another in the playoffs the most, if you go in the last 20 years, it seemed like the Patriots and the Colts were playing pretty frequently.
Right, and I would have gone Cowboys and Niners before I'd have gone Packers and Niners. That one in my head just seems like they played every year for so many years.
So 9th time that they have met in the playoffs. If you go back, I guess, was it 9 years? This was the game in which Colin Kaepernick looked like he was going to be a superstar. He threw for like 250 and ran for like 180. It was against Green Bay on a Saturday night, in which it was like, oh, who is this unstoppable force here? And they ended up going to the Super Bowl that year. But Aaron Rodgers 0-3 in the playoffs against the Niners.
And I know it's the cliche thing, but listen to Sean Salisbury. Can Jimmy G play a clean game? And I don't even, like you said, David, it's not necessarily if he throws the pick, because the pick's not necessarily the bad play. The pick against Dallas was awful, but there can be picks that you can justify, if you will. Is he going to miss the receiver when it's there? Is he going to miss the big play? Because he'll be given a couple of opportunities. They're going to try to run it. There'll be a play action. There'll be someone that's there if he can hit him. Sean Salisbury in it said he picked Green Bay, but said, just look at the number of runs that San Francisco attempts. They get to 30 runs, we're going to have a game in the fourth quarter. They're throwing the ball 30, 35 times. There's a good chance we're not in a football game.
There's a stat for everything. It's the old adage about statistics. You stare at them long enough, they tell you what it is you want them to say. But Jimmy Garoppolo, since 1950, has the second best winning percentage on the road of any quarterback in the last 70 plus years. He is 20-6 on the road. That's nearly 77%. That's regular and postseason. Only Mahomes has a better winning percentage since 1950, minimum 25 starts, than Jimmy G. The difference, that's why it is fascinating. They're going to move on from Jimmy G in all likelihood whenever this year is done. Because since Kyle Shanahan took over, they've won nearly 70% of the games that Garoppolo starts. They're 34-15. When he doesn't start, they're 8-28. And yet they gave up a boatload to get him out of town. And they're moving on. Thank you very much.
Miller and Moulton, it is that time. We will make our picks on the other side. I'm trying to figure out for the life of me who David's other road team is. We will all know when we come back to Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. DC, I think if put it this way, what if Jimmy G wins injured on Sunday? Would you give a second? What do you think Jimmy G's worth, David?
I'd give a second. I mean, come on. If you're the New Orleans Saints, you don't think Jimmy G's a significant upgrade? If the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins to Indianapolis, you wouldn't give up a second-round pick?
If you're Indianapolis and had a second-round pick, wouldn't it be an improvement from Carson Wentz? I mean, they don't already have a first-round pick, so I don't know if they do it, but exactly, Ryan. King, no offense. Did you not see some of those interceptions that man threw? Carson Wentz is, I think he's done. Oh, yeah. I love it, DC. Jimmy G to the Giants. What do you think, David?
No.
I'm just having fun.
Oh, I know. It's hysterical.
You wouldn't want him?
At this point, quite frankly, the Giants are a bad team with a bad roster. They should not be trading any assets at all for anyone. The Giants are a long-term rebuild. They're in as bad a shape as any team in the league.
Fly Panda, that's not a bad call. That's a nice runner-up to Aaron Rodgers.
Totally.
That's you're gonna be bummed out because you don't get Aaron because I think they might get him. But boy, oh boy, Panda, that you're on to something there. That's well done.
You don't see why they would get rid of Wentz. The GM's had 2 opportunities now to say they're committed to Wentz, and he has noticeably not uttered his word both times.
God, I love the stretch pass.
Oh, not turning, Klecko. They're there. You got to stop that. Come on, dude.
Going over the net if you don't hit it with your glove.
They might want to think about Marc-Andre Fleury. Unless they think Rask is going to come back.
Well, he played the other day,
yeah,
so.
Well, he got pulled. His second start, he gave 5 goals, and he pulled him.
I got you, the Commanders. I knew what you were talking about there, King. King jumping in the room for the first time with his little emoji there. Obviously, he's a gamer.
I like it.
He's obviously been to Twitch before.
Here's the thing, King. If I'm Washington, do you spend a second-round pick acquiring a Cousins or a Jimmy G? They won't go Cousins because he's been there before. And then on your first-round pick, draft your long-term answer. So you give up a pick for your guy for 2 years. Yeah, but DC, I don't think teams, I mean, Frank Reich knew him, lobbied for him, the whole deal, and if they're bailing on him, there's talk they may go Cousins for Wentz straight up, by the way. Because one's $34 million guaranteed and the other's 15. I mean, his salary's more than that, but only 15 of it's guaranteed.
20 seconds. Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$18 minutes past the hour on a Football Friday edition of Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Periodically throughout the show, mourning the passing of Meatloaf at the age of 74. Many a lyric has been sent in by many a listener, whether it be texting us, FSN Radio to 21,000, FSN Radio to 21,000, or watching us, following us, subscribing to us, Mark, on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel, and then commenting in the Twitch chat room. Remember, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Sal Cappaccio from the Bills Radio Network to join us in a little less than 20 minutes' time. All right, let's do this.
I'm ready. You pick the game. I'm ready to break it down and tell you why I'm going to be right and go undefeated again this weekend, David.
That's right. Mark Miller, 6-0, straight up, 6-0 against the number. I mean, I wasn't awful. I was 5-1, but it ain't 6-0, baby.
Ready to do it again, David.
The 72 Dolphins to my left here, Mark. The rest of us ready to pop champagne when he finally misses one. Will it be the first game tomorrow, late afternoon in Nashville? The Bengals and the Titans. Since he's never won a road playoff game, the Titans have never won a playoff game when they've been the number 1 seed. They're 0-2. That's right.
It's a cage match in Nashville at the Municipal Auditorium. ECW Wrestling is back.
And then we head to where? The
Omni in Atlanta. We'll be at Chattanooga High School on Wednesday and the Omni in Atlanta on Friday.
It was that to me, when you first did that, on this show 15 years ago, and you commented, and they would have this gig and this gig and this gig and this gig. And if you added up the total attendance at these 4 gigs, it'd be like 5,800. And then we're going to play before a sold out crowd at the Omni.
Gordon Soley, the announcer of my youth. All right. There's a bunch of different ways you could look at this game. I do think that Tennessee, no matter whether Derrick Henry can carry it 15 times or 30 times, they're going to want to run the football. And I think they'll have some success because I do think that the Bengals defensive line is not great right now. The problem for the Texans, I think, is going to be their back end. I think that they'll be able to sack Burrow a couple times. I think the quality of the receiving core of Cincinnati mixed in with Joe Mixon with the ability to play action is going to be what Cincinnati does here. I like the Bengals to win this game. I think it's going to be a good football game. I'm going to say 27-24 Cincinnati.
I think the Titans are going to win because the Titans are a better team than people give them credit for. I mean, they lost week 1 to Arizona, but Mark, the teams that they have beaten this year, they beat Buffalo. They beat Kansas City. They swept your beloved Colts, who did finish with a losing record. They went to Los Angeles and beat the Rams. They beat the Niners, for that matter. They have a very good record against playoff teams. They have a very good record against winning teams. Yet you know they're not a juggernaut. I mean, heck, they lost to the Texans once and struggled with them a second time. But I just think, Mark, at the point of attack, Tennessee is ultimately going to own this game. Last 20 minutes, I think they are going to push Cincinnati around. And ultimately, the team that wins up front wins, unless you just commit 2-3 turnovers, which I know many of you think RT17 is capable of doing. I, meanwhile, am the president of the RT17 fan club. Titans win and cover.
By the way, and I didn't really, 27-24, because Tennessee will have the ball last. They will be driving down the field with the potential opportunity to game-winning touchdown or a game-tying field goal when RT17 throws the interception to cost the Titans the game and the season.
Now you're
and I will be texting Moulton incessantly as this is happening.
Right as I'm getting ready to really go to work.
And David will be in a dark pit of despair.
Thank you, Madison Keys. Niners at Packers. Green Bay, a 6-point favorite at home.
I did not take the points and expect a loss in any of my picks a week ago. I'm going to take the points, and I'm going to tell you that Green Bay is going to win this football game. I think we're going to get a really good game. The numbers you've talked about with Jimmy G, you can run on Green Bay. And whether it's the running back, whether it's receiver, they'll be able to have some longer possessions in the first half, get a lot of plays on Green Bay. I think Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day will win the game. It's a 6-point game. Give me 31-27. But I think Green Bay wins, but I will take the 6. I think it's going to be that close.
It's down to 5.5 in a few spots. So the money coming in a touch more on the Niners than the Packers. Mark, I'm going to take Green Bay and I'm going to lay the points. And the reason is simple. Davante Adams, the Niners do not have an answer. Even when they win, they don't have an answer. Last 4 meetings, which basically is with Matt LaFleur as head coach. They played twice in 2019, and the Niners won both those games. Thank you very much. The last 2 meetings in the regular season, Green Bay has won. But in the last 4 meetings, Davante Adams has 38 catches on 53 targets. He averages 122 yards receiving and a touchdown a game. He basically averages 10 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. The Niners do not have an answer. Zones don't work against Rodgers and the Niners. They don't. It'll help San Francisco that Valdez-Scantling is not playing. It will. I mean, he is their number 2 wideout. But as Aaron Rodgers says, the colder the better. and I think it will be. It'll start at around 15 and get down to single digits, throw in some wind, and it'll feel like low single digits, close to 0 tomorrow night in Green Bay. By the way, it's 7 below there right now. So
enjoy your flight.
Oh, thank you. And so believe me, they're getting a good weather game compared to what they could get. It's going to be clear, not very windy, and temperatures well above 0. That's about as good as you can hope for on January 20, whatever. But I like Green Bay, and I like them by 7 or more. If I had to throw it out there, I'll say 27-20.
Well, and trust me, David, 5.5, I wouldn't play it. And I'd love to see it get to 6.5. I would be watching this line very closely if I was going to play this game for real.
One thing I do want to point out, though, Kittle has been a nightmare for Green Bay. Now, there have been some games, he's missed one of those 4. Last year's regular season game he missed with an injury. And if you go back to that NFC Championship game 2 years ago, well, the Niners only threw 8 passes. I mean, Garoppolo was 6 of 8 in an NFC Championship game. It was like greasy with the 72 Dolphins. But in the other 2 games, Kittle was targeted 15 times. He caught the ball 13 times for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns. So when they target Kittle, basically, Mark, in the last 4 years, every single time they've targeted him, he's caught the ball. He's got 14 catches on 16 targets in the last 3 times they've played. And he averages 5 catches for 80 yards per game against the Packers. So the 2 star receivers, if you will. Now, San Francisco's now added Deebo Samuel, but Kittle's been a bit of a nightmare. Devontae's been we have no answer nightmare.
Well, I think Kittle continued to be a nightmare because they're going to be so paying attention to what Samuel's doing that he's going to have the opportunity over the middle to make plays the whole game. And that's the pass I'm worried about Jimmy G missing. You know what I'm talking about,
Yep.
David? That there's going to be a play where Kittle's going to be open for a big gasher. Jimmy G's got to hit him.
Rams and Bucks, and I'm guessing you're going with the Rams. I'm just seeing if you're paying attention.
I'm always paying attention to you. And this is the game I have agonized over all week long. Because there's not a reason to take Tampa Bay in this game outside of, well, the reason to take Tampa Bay in this game.
You mean the guy who's 35-11 in the playoffs?
Yes, that guy.
35-11.
I'll die with TB12.
Okay.
I said it yesterday during the show. Offensive line, edge Rams. Defensive line, edge Rams. Receivers, edge Rams. D-backs, edge Rams. Linebackers will give to the Bucks. Quarterback will give to the Bucks. Tight end will give to the Bucks. It's not the recipe to win a game. But I'm going to trust in TB12 to get to Green Bay. Give me Tampa. Late field goal, they win by 3.
So a push. So you wouldn't play it.
No.
And you're basically.
And if I were to play it, I'd play the Rams because I am just dying over this pick over here.
I'm taking the Rams.
I know you are.
First off, it's a bad matchup for Tampa Bay.
I know.
They've played each of the last 2 years, and the Rams have won both times. Stafford, by the way, is 2-1 all time when he's faced Brady. I think right now the Rams are the healthier team. It's a better matchup for them. It will come down to, can Stafford not lose the game for him?
Bingo.
I mean,
and the Honolulu Blue just can't leave you, David. It just doesn't ever leave you. The pick will be there for him.
I think that the Bucs secondary gets exposed. All the passes that Philadelphia didn't throw at Jamel Dean when he was guarding Devontae Smith one-on-one, that's all the passes they will throw to Odell Beckham. If that's the one-on-one matchup, they will throw at Beckham 12 times. And I think the Rams win. Rooting for the Bucs, but I'm picking the Rams 27-24. And then finally, the heavyweight matchup, the rematch of the AFC Championship game, Bills and Chiefs.
I can't wait. I mean, I'm really excited for this football game. It feels bigger than a divisional round in every sense. You said it earlier this week, David. This is something that We watched Brady and Manning play what it seemed like every year. I'm hoping this is just one of many that we're going to be getting between Allen and Mahomes in the postseason. I like Kansas City at home. I know that, home field doesn't matter anymore, but that's a large sample size. This is the postseason. This is a 1 seed. This was a bye, or not. This is for. I think they get to host next week. I think the winner of this game feels like they've got a good shot at hosting next week. So I think Kansas City, at the end of the day, just will score more than Buffalo. I think the game's in the 30s, and I think Kansas City wins a close one. Right now, the line's been bet down to 1.5.
Tough to pick against Mahomes and the Chiefs at home. They've only lost the one home playoff game. That was to Brady and the Patriots back in the 2018 season. And that was in overtime. The Bills in this regime yet to win a road playoff game. Their 2 playoff wins last year, both at home. The win, obviously, last week was at home.
33-31 Chiefs.
38-31 Bills. Josh Allen and the Bills right now are unstoppable. They get payback for the AFC Championship game last year. My preseason pick was the Packers and the Bills. I am not deviating. I think there's a safety for Kansas City, Sorensen, number 49, who's going to get exposed. He's one of the worst safeties in the league, and whoever he's guarding, the Bills are going to throw to all day. It's kind of like the second meeting between the Bills and the Patriots. Number 41 for the Patriots was trying to guard that number 3 receiver that we had never heard of, and he caught 12 balls. It's going to be the same thing Sunday. Whoever 49's guarding, they're going to throw to him because he can't cover anybody on the field.
We all know that the Bills only can run the game with their quarterback, and that's part of the problem that I think at the end of the game will come down to. But this may be very well whoever has the ball last, David.
So you're going with just the one road team, Cincinnati. I'm going with the Rams and the Bills. So I'm going home team Saturday, road team Sunday. Give us your picks. Vote on our poll question at that Mark Miller, at the David Moulton. How many road teams are going to win? 0, 1, 2, 3, or more. We head to Buffalo. Sal Cappaccio, Bills Radio Network. Next, Pat Kirwan, top of the hour on a Football Friday edition of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football is simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Tweets are coming out. God, I love this scheduled tweet thing, David.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, it's nice to be able, because I forget when we're getting the show, we get talking, we get doing something. It's like, I can get that all done before the show.
I just text Sal, told him we're running a few minutes behind, so we're good. So Klecko going with the Sean Salisbury picks there.
Oh, my goodness. Miami to London flight returned in less than an hour because a passenger wouldn't wear a mask.
Oh my God. That's a Boeing 747 also.
On the flight, there would have been no need to turn around because we just would have killed the guy.
Imagine turning around a Boeing 747 an hour into a flight just because someone won't wear a mask.
Not only that, Miami to London. Well, D. August, you and Mark Miller.
I don't know who this guy is. Fish Sports, Cowboys Insider. Apparently, SI.com has a story that says, "We were nervous." McCarthy says, this guy retweets it and says, "You're never nervous when you're studying for a test. You already know the answers." What Jimmy Johnson used to tell his Cowboy teams. McCarthy says his team was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, boy, oh boy, Jared, they're giving you a lot of ammo to get rid of this guy.
Yep.
Cappaccio. That's what, Italian? Cappaccio.
Oh, you're really smart this morning. Really bringing your A game. Hey, what is Sal Cappaccio? Italian?
Is it Italian?
Cappaccio.
Such a badass name.
Oh, they're reporting fraudulent petitions now in this gambling effort. Of course they are. Because the Sands has spent $50 million trying. Come on, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh no, the disinformation campaign out there about this. Now they got a thing on the internet. Just say no.
But they're now Florida Elections Office seeing suspected fraudulent petitions effort. You don't think that that's the Seminoles telling them that?
Well, yeah. Plus, coming from Tallahassee, which is behind the whole Seminole tribe.
Right. And the Sands, whose late owner was a mega donor to DeSantis. They don't like it. They deal with him. They don't like it. All right, let's get back to work.
Oh, is AB sitting down with Gail King?
Sal's on hold, and he said, "Hey, you know how to say my last name?" And I was like, "Cappaccio." And he's like, "Yeah, you got it. The CC is a CH." I'm like, "I'm Hispanic, I know." And he laughed. 30 seconds.
Titans, Chiefs. You can't have 49ers and Packers. Okay, they're playing each other.
He's Bill's sideline reporter, right?
That I don't know. I have him as Bill's Radio Network.
And he is sideline, but that's fine. Bill's Radio Network.
15 seconds. Real quick, you guys both took the Bucks, right?
No, I took the Rams.
So the road team.
I took Sunday. I took the two road teams.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
$21 before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Florida Sports Network. Port Charlotte jumps on board the network early next week. And we'll be very happy about that, just like we were thrilled this week when Lake City jumped on board. Pat Kirwan to join us coming up just after the top of the hour. Sal Cappaccio, kind enough to join us once again for the Bills Radio Network and 550 WGR in Buffalo. You can follow Sal on Twitter at Sal Sports. That's Sal Sports. Sal, it's David and Mark once again. How are you?
I'm awesome, and anytime I could be an opening act for Pat Kirwan, I'm honored. Thank you.
Well, you should be awesome because, Sal, I mean, this seems like the best Bills team in 30 years. But just like there was a hump to get over with that group, this is the hump to get over now. Can they do it?
Yeah. Yeah, look, and they've had their challenges this year, right? This group. I agree that, right now their roster, and I've said this for a couple of years now, you can even go back to last year. This Bills roster is as good as it's been since the Super Bowl years. There's no doubt about it. Now, do they have Hall of Famers all over the place? I mean, I guess that remains to be seen. A lot of these guys are still, in their fourth or fifth years, so we'll see. But they're certainly very talented. They're very well coached, and they have one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And anytime you have that, you're going to have a chance to win. And then you add on to it the number one defense in the entire league. Very well coached with Sean McDermott on that side, defensive head coach, obviously with Leslie Frazier. How do they get over the hump? Well, they have to stop basically, in a lot of ways, the same version of themselves, which is a very good Kansas City Chiefs team with an elite quarterback, with a Super Bowl ring, who's won an MVP. It's not going to be easy. You got to go to Arrowhead. It's going to be loud. The Bills have won there. They won there this year on a primetime game. But you have to continue to play the way you're playing. If you have any slip-ups against a team like that, they'll make you pay, obviously.
And I don't know if Buffalo can play better than they played last week. How difficult do you think it has been for this? They've had runs, but to put together back-to-back great performances after just destroying New England. Any concern, not with a letdown because it's a playoff, Sal, and I'm not dumb, but to be able to play that A game again?
Sure. I mean, I don't expect. I don't know if you could ever put together what a lot of people are calling the perfect offensive game. Especially, I mean, they scored on 7 straight possessions. They never touched the ball without scoring, other than kneeling down. I don't know if that's possible, but I think you have to consider too. They have such a good defense. Even if you don't score in every possession and you don't bring that specific, oh my gosh, every single play execution, the quarterback goes 21 of 25. You get a couple stops on defense. You can still play not necessarily perfect and win the game. I don't expect them to play as perfect as they did last week. That would be pretty incredible. If they did, they're going to win this game. There's no doubt about that. But sure, I mean, I think it'd be tougher to expect for any team. And look, the Chiefs, they played really well last week too. The first quarter, they struggled a little bit, but then they were pretty much the same as the Bills, and they went out and they scored on 5 straight possessions. So I don't know if they could keep that up either. It's going to be fantastic to see.
Sal Cappaccio, Bills Radio Network, Bills Radio Network. Follow him on Twitter at Sal Sports. Sal, it seemed to me from afar that every move the Bills made in the offseason was targeted specifically at Kansas City. 2 areas of weakness last year for the Bills: couldn't get to the quarterback, and because of it, they couldn't get Mahomes off the field on 3rd down in not 1 but 2 meetings last year. And also, they couldn't cover a tight end worth a darn, and the Chiefs have arguably the best one in the league. Every move seemed targeted at getting much better in those 2 areas. Do you think now they are?
First of all, you're right. And it was almost explicitly stated by the team. I mean, when we met with Brandon Beane, general manager, and head coach Sean McDermott at the end of the season, and that was a talking point that they said, that's the standard. We got to beat that team. And, it was, yeah, sure, we want to win the division. That's the step. But our goal is to host the AFC Championship game next year, which means you got to beat Kansas City. So you're right. And they did. What they do, they went out and they drafted Greg Rousseau. They drafted Boogie Basham, the top 2 picks. They got longer. They got more athletic to be able to handle Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs passing game a little bit better. Now, they didn't do necessarily anything on defense personnel-wise to combat the tight end point, which you're right. They had struggled with the tight end. But I think they had a little bit of a scheme change this year. There's less of linebackers on tight ends. There's more of Jordan Poyer, safety, help, DBs, things like that. And they've been very good at defending tight ends. So we'll see how it plays out. Week 5, the Bills did an excellent job against the Chiefs. They really did. They kind of just blanketed them over the top. They allowed the Chiefs to kind of have the underneath stuff. They came up. They tackled the Chiefs. They've done a nice job, though, of being patient as the season's gone on. I was looking at some numbers today. Patrick Mahomes actually is in the bottom third of the league at throwing the ball down the field as far as his average depth of target, but they're number 2 in the league in yards after catch. So the Bills are going to want to play that game, and that's fine. But the key in this game, then, is to go up and tackle and make sure you don't allow them to break loose on some of those plays.
On the other side of the ball, have you seen areas in what you're looking at where you think the Bills have a clear advantage offensively against Kansas City?
Yes. running the football. The Bills in week 5, both teams are very different right now. And the biggest way the Bills are different, they are actually a team that can run the football now. They could not run the ball in week 5. They certainly couldn't run it last year. That really hurt them in the AFC Championship game because the Chiefs just kind of pinned their ears back, went after Josh Allen, and Chris Jones was a game wrecker. Well, now the Bills have found their running attack. They have averaged about 165 yards a game over the last 5 weeks. That includes Allen, but a lot of that is Devin Singletary now. He's become the lead back. It's no longer shuttling in and out with Zach Moss, even some Matt Breida. This is Devin Singletary's backfield. He's gone away from trying to hit the home run ball all the time because he knows he's going to get limited opportunities to, hey, I'm not coming off the field. I can take 3 or 4 yards. I'm getting the ball in the next play. And they've done a really good job. And you look at that Chiefs run defense, they're 31st out of 32 teams in yards per play against, like close to 4.8. Sure, are they better than they were maybe earlier in the year? Yes, but they still are a leaky run defense. Melvin Gordon ran on them, and they've given up a lot of yards to quarterbacks. Josh ran on them in week 5. Look what Drew Lock did on that Saturday game a couple of weeks ago. I think Josh Allen running the football this week, Devin Singletary running the football, to me, that's an advantage for the Bills. If they can do that, then they can't pin their ears back and just go after Allen when he goes back to pass.
Sal, is this group now mature enough? I mean, the only home playoff game that Mahomes and Reed have lost, they lost to a very veteran, experienced, mature, Brady-led Patriots team in overtime. Is this Bills team ready to do something they haven't done as a group? Win a road game.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, it's tough to go to Arrowhead. If you go to Arrowhead and you lose this game, I don't think it's an indictment on the Bills' maturity, where they are in their evolution, because that's a tough thing to do, no matter who you are. You could be the seasoned team and go there and you could lose. But I think people have to remember, the Bills have now been in the playoffs in 4 of their last 5 years since Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier arrived. I mean, you're talking about Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer and Matt Milano and Deion Dawkins. This is their 4th year in the playoffs now. These guys are on their 2nd contract, some of them with the Bills. And in the case of Poyer and Hyde, they were free agents who came over from other teams. Micah Hyde, he's been in tons of playoff games with the Green Bay Packers and then the Bills. Josh Allen now, he started, remember that first game he started in Houston, and we got that, hero ball Josh in the playoffs a few years ago. We did wacky plays, but then last year goes back and wins a couple playoff games. This team has now, they've gotten to that point where they are an experienced playoff team. But, man, it's tough to go to Arrowhead. It's tough for any team to go to Arrowhead. I don't just expect them to walk in there and say, guess what? We have experience. We can win this game. But the one thing I think that the Bills, this has been a talking point this week. This is where their season ended last year, guys. This has left a sour taste in their mouth. There's a viral picture you may have seen of Stephon Diggs on the field after the game, the only Buffalo Bill remaining, emotional, watching the Chiefs celebrate. They do not want that to happen again this year, and they've talked about that.
Sal, final point from us. That infamous Monday nighter against the Patriots, when the weather, they lost, the question in the post game about, were you embarrassed? The Bills seem to be a little bit nastier, little more attitude since that moment. Not only what they've done to New England in the 2 games, it just seems as if the Bills are like, you know what? All right, we're tired of this garbage. Because, Sal, they're top 5 in both offense and defense, and yet they managed to lose 6 games this year. I mean, on paper, this is like a 15-2 team, and it just seems as if it took that Monday night loss to the Patriots to finally get them to go, can we stop fooling around?
Yeah, listen, you go back and you're right. And I think that's been the thing this year. It's been such a consistent program under McDermott. This year they were a little bit more inconsistent. In all those games they lost, they only lost one of their games they lost this year was by more than 1 score. Every other game was by 1 score. They're literally a Josh Allen slip on 4th down away from having the number 1 seed. That was in Tennessee on Monday night. Yet they're the only team, I think the first team in NFL history to win, 11, 12 games, what it was, by double digits, by 12 points or more. That's the only time that's ever happened. So when they win, they run away from teams. And when they lose close games. That's been an issue. So when that happened, that was a close game. That Monday night game, you're right. I think afterwards, people were ticked off. Now, listen, they went the following week to Tampa, and they did not play well in the first half. Things changed for them in that second half. They came back. They had that huge comeback. They lost in overtime. Since then, they played really well. You're right. There's actually, I'll tell your listeners, and you guys can check this out if you want, if you go to the their team website, all the teams have this social media stuff they do. The Bills had Jordan Poyer mic'd up last week against the Patriots on Saturday night. And guys, I'm telling you, I get chills thinking about it. Just I go back and watch it every time. Jordan Poyer was he's firing up his guys in the huddle, and he was saying, their era ends tonight. I'm sick of these guys. Their era ends tonight. And like, you could tell, like, they have an edge about them right now where they're tired of looking up at the Patriots, looking up at the Chiefs and saying, this is our time right now. And I think that is right. I think what happened in that game, to hear that stuff, to go through that situation, they basically decided, hey, you want to go us against the world? That's the mentality they've taken since then.
Sal, thanks for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it. Safe travels, best of luck, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
All right, guys, anytime. Thanks for having me.
Sal Cappaccio, Bills Radio Network, 550 WGR in Buffalo. Follow him on Twitter at Sal Sports. That's Sal Sports.
Well, anytime means you won. We're talking to you next week. You're a happy camper.
Well, they certainly will be. They certainly will be. This feels like an AFC championship game.
It really does. And that's why I misspoke when I said one. It just feels like it's a one seed hosting. And I know the Chiefs are the 2. And
even if the winner
3.
has to go to Nashville the following week, it still feels like they will be the favorite.
Not a doubt in my mind. Either one's a 3-point favorite against Tennessee. Maybe 3.5.
And the irony is Tennessee beat both of them at home.
Right.
And it'd be a rematch, yet you're right. There's no doubt in both of our minds that the winner of the Bills-Chiefs will be the 3 to 4 point favorite in the AFC title game on the road.
That Diggs part is interesting. I don't know. We won't ever get the pregame, but I'd like to see, we've all seen Ray Lewis yell at teams before games. I'd love to hear what Diggs is saying to the team, because you have to think he'd be one of the guys that'll speak. If you're the one that was on the field last year watching all of that, you're probably the guy that gets the microphone last, if you know what I mean, before they go on the field or on the sidelines or whenever that is.
Do you remember that? I remember it vividly, because he wasn't just like standing sheepishly. Like, the Chiefs had moved things down towards one end zone, and Diggs was like standing on the 40-yard line, holding his helmet. I mean, the whole rest of the team had been in the locker room for like 8-10 minutes, and he was just standing there. You got to remember, that was his second conference championship game losing. He was on that Vikings team. Obviously, he was responsible for the Minneapolis Miracle the week before and the winning touchdown, and then they went to Philly and got rocked. And so it was the second time in 4 years that he lost decisively in a conference championship game. I think it's their time. I've thought it all year. They were my pick to come out of the AFC. It's amazing they've lost 6 games.
I wish they had a running back that ran the football.
Have they stumbled upon Singletary in time?
I don't know. I don't know, because they don't trust him enough at the end of the day.
And it's so difficult for both these teams. Like, the Chiefs are getting Edwards-Helaire back for this game. They're probably not going to have Williams in the backfield for this game, who carried the load last week. But both teams should be able to run the ball on the other. But when you do that, at least in Kansas City's case, you do take the ball out of 15's hands. The difference for Buffalo is you can run the ball and not take the ball out of the quarterback's hand.
Right. And when you're taking it out of 15's hands, you're taking it out of Kelsey's hands, you're taking it out of Hill's hands, all those yards after catch. Absolutely.
So for the record, Mark's got the Chiefs close, have the ball last, right? Kick a field goal, walking.
Yep.
And I've got the Bills winning Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan with his insight and picks next.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I have an update from Down Under. Naomi Osaka lost. You know, it's hard. It's beginning to become difficult to defend her. Because obviously, you can call me weak for this, but her decision is her decision. If she doesn't want to play, she doesn't give a flying you-know-what about what anyone thinks, and whatever. Props to her for utilizing her right to do whatever she wants. But if you're going to come back, if you're going to take a hiatus, one would assume that in that time off, you're working to get better. Come on. What did she lose? It's not even the quarterfinals. Or am I wrong? Is it the quarterfinals? I don't know. But beginning to become. Yeah, that's... If I said that, I don't know. Naomi Osaka lost.
Yeah. She did.
Yeah. She's on a slump.
Oh, we're in the same room. It's a lot easier. I don't have to carry a big, huge camera and a tripod and set everything up. I can plug 2 small cameras in. It's basically saving me time. In a perfect world, I'd have all 3.
Ooh, Nick, I like that comment. That's pretty accurate. Bills, Chiefs, Bucks, Nets. Yeah, pretty much. Hey, D. August, subscriber. Take that, David.
At some point, are you going to just walk over and punch him, or am I?
Half the time, I don't know what he's saying.
I know.
You're not an only child, though, are you?
No.
See, that's the thing. Like, I would understand, like, we are only children. All right. So the whole talking to oneself, having the whole conversation to oneself, that's something that only children do.
Both of you are only children?
Yes.
Damn.
Yes.
Why? Is there something wrong with that?
No, I don't know.
You wanted to be an only child. You sounded like you were jealous that we were only children.
No, I don't know many people that are only children. I don't know. Cubans like making babies, I guess.
Keeping Christianity alive.
Yeah.
There you go.
One child at a time.
That's a great idea, Hops.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the focus there, Debbie, the new Apple phone, the autofocus. But what if I was the killer? I could be the killer.
Pat's ready. We got 30 seconds.
So we found out who the Hall of Fame voter was who didn't vote for Jeter.
Really?
Yeah, because this guy emailed Nick Canepa from San Diego to why he wouldn't submit a Hall of Fame vote for Lester, or why he's voting for Lester but not someone like Jeter. And he answered, Jeter isn't up for the Hall yet. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, has to be out 5 years. This guy hasn't voted for anybody in 2 years. They kind of finally figured it out. Kid that I follow, Eric, he goes by RT.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the 8 o'clock hour, the final hour of Miller and Moulton for those in the Greater Lake City and Tampa St. Pete areas. It is halfway home for those in the 239. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, which expands next week into Port Charlotte all the way to Venice. Right now, we welcome a friend and a longtime friend of the show. He is Pat Kirwan of NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons and Saturday afternoons, and also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, this is as sexy a divisional round as I think you could have.
I'm with you guys. And I think it's the blowouts, honestly, in wild card weekend that cleared up who the best teams were to advance. And so people that were bored, I get it. But now we know that the strength of the league is here. I don't think we left one team out that deserves to be in the final 8. Now, maybe you guys do, but I don't. I think we got the right 8 teams. And I'm with you, David. There's some interesting battles starting to brew here. And we started looking at that Buffalo-Kansas City game, the last one. It's ours at CBS. That line opened at 3, went down to 2, 1.5. It's a pick-em game at this point, really. So, yes, you're right. I like everything about them. The biggest point spread is up in Green Bay, which still isn't very big.
Before we get to all the games, I just want to ask on the coach and GM front, because David and I are of the opinion nothing happens tomorrow or Sunday with games. Some information might get leaked, but typically they won't hire when there's games going on. Do you anticipate anything happening today, particularly in the GM race? Seems like that would be the first one to get done, Pat.
Yeah, I thought so too. But the reality is I heard from a candidate in the front office group and a candidate in the coach group that 8 teams need a coach and 4 need a GM. And I know one team started to think, you know what, there's going to be an aggressive move towards these coaches with teams that don't need a GM. So I was told by one guy that we're going to switch gears here and go for the coach first, even though we need a GM. So one of the questions they've been asking the GM candidates was, are you okay if we hire the coach first? So it sounds to me like, if you like a particular guy and he's getting interviews all over the place, I don't know, Dan Quinn, for example, he's been everywhere. If you thought that's the guy we want, can you wait until you hire a GM when you know you're going to try to get Quinn anyway? So I think you're going to see some movement there. But there is a moratorium for the playoff games usually. But today, to your question, Mark, I think we might see one coach thing go down today. Because I know one coach is basically, he's pretty close to making his own decision.
So, Pat, if you're a GM candidate, can you answer that truthfully? Like when they say, hey, do you mind, we may lose a coach? Like, who is it? Are you okay hiring? And he rattles off 3 names. And then they say, well, we're interested in 2 of those 3, but, there's a third one that we like, and it's so-and-so. And it's not necessarily on your list. I mean, should you be honest and going, yeah, I wouldn't hire that guy?
I think they are honest, and they'll point out why they think, the 2 candidates that we both agree on are superior to the one we don't agree on. And you might not get the job. Now, the young guys that have never been GMs, they might say anything to get the job, but they'll be fired in a few years. So I think the guys I'm mentoring one guy, and I've told him 100 times, it's better you don't get a job than to take one the hard way and find out you don't have harmony with everybody else. So I hope they're all smart enough to know that doesn't work. But I think you're on to look, there's not a lot of veteran guys in the GM pool. You notice that some of them are just being left out. Like John Dorsey's built 2 rosters that are pretty good. Don't you think 8 to 10 teams should be thinking about him as better than what they have? But you don't see it. I think John will get something as part of a package, but where are those veteran guys? I think people are maybe the league office is steering this, David, and suggesting to them go young and go cheap.
Fascinating, Pat, because you have beat one thing into my head. See, I was a hockey guy, and I watched coaches at the minor league level who were head coaches. So it wasn't to me the jump to take a guy that was a AAA coach and put him into the majors. It never seemed like a big deal. But in football, there's really no AAA. So you've beat me over the head and chest for 10 years of you got to hire an adult. You got to hire someone who's done it before. So I ask you, Pat, with all these young candidates, better chance of success, first-time GM, first-time coach?
First-time GM, there's 2 kinds of GMs. There's the personnel type that's been grinding and knows where the players are. And then there's the guy that's the capologist type, the business manager type. So you got to be careful about hiring one from either side and expecting to know both jobs. Most of them only know the one side they're from, and they'd have to bring someone with them, and they'd have to tell me who that was. But I wouldn't mind setting up a structure with a younger front office guy. The coach's decision making, a friend, you'll love this. This is right up your alley, Mark. I got a friend of mine who was a head coach, lands up in the pool for jury duty. And you know how that goes. They ask you all those crazy questions, which he kind of knew he was going to get thrown off. And he definitely knew he was getting thrown off after he answered the question this way. The guy said, now, can you make a fast decision? He goes, I make a decision every 30 seconds or I get penalized. Yeah, I can make a fast decision. But so the point is the coach, the pressure on the coach to be a leader of men. The personnel guy / GM, he's working in an office. He's got some contacts with people, some superficially, and that, the players know that's the GM, so they're respectful. But the coach has got to convince 53 guys to win games and not give up and make adjustments at halftime and say he's sorry when they make a stupid analytics call that doesn't work. So the dynamic for the coach, I think the more seasoned, the better.
And yet it is ironic this year, and goodness knows the list of first-time head coaches flaming out and failing is far longer than what I'm about to read. But we have 8 teams left, Mark, and 5 of them are led by first-time head coaches. This Matt LaFleur, all right, this is his first head coaching job.
Okay,
Kyle
let's go one at a time, David. Now, who's the head coach, Matt LaFleur or Aaron Rodgers?
I'll say, you know what? I would have said Aaron Rodgers until the Arizona game on the Thursday night. I thought Matt LaFleur was the coach that day, and quite frankly, he was brilliant. Rodgers was only good. LaFleur was brilliant. Okay.
Okay. Without Matt LaFleur, let's go. Without Matt LaFleur, what would their record be?
Come on, he's got to be worth a win, Pat. Come on
I'll
now.
tell you what their record would be without Aaron Rodgers.
I didn't
5 wins.
I didn't say Matt LaFleur was the MVP of the team. I just said he was the
Matt
head
LaFleur
coach.
was the head coach, and Rodgers wasn't on the team. They'd have 5 wins.
Kyle Shanahan's a first-time head coach. Sean McVay's.
Hold on. He's not in his first Super Bowl, is he?
Well, no.
Okay.
All right.
He's figured out how to blow 2 Super Bowls already.
I know that. I understand. Sean McVay. All right. This is the only head coaching job he's ever had.
Okay. He also has been in a Super Bowl before. If you brought those 2 guys up the last time around when they were getting their first Super Bowl, I'd be all over this rookie coach thing. They're not rookie coaches.
Mike, this is Mike Vrabel's first head coaching job. All right.
Very good.
And
I'll accept Mike Vrabel.
And
he's only been to a couple championship games already, but that's okay.
And this is Zach Taylor's first head coaching job. I mean, there's no doubt.
Don't forget Sean McDermott. You don't like Sean?
It's true. It's Sean McDermott. It's actually 6 out of 8. All right.
Okay, so then let's go the other way. The two coaches, let's see here. Kansas City played who in the Super Bowl last year?
Gosh, I don't remember. Let me see. I think it was Tampa Bay, maybe?
65.
Yeah.
I did say, Pat, it is ironic, and the list of failures is far greater than the list of successes. If you're a team, though, that's about to hire a first-time head coach, you are looking at this weekend and saying, well, at least a handful of teams have gotten this thing right. Maybe we'll be one of them.
I'm with you on that. I'm only playing around here, but I don't know. You kind of skipped Cliff Kingsbury, who lost last week. How's that first year?
No. I said once again, the list is much longer on the other side. It's just that for the first time in a while, we actually have a list that has some meat on it of, well a few guys have figured it out.
All right, let Mark the listener on this. So Mark, you'll tell me how we decide this argument. If we keep hiring first-time head coaches, do you think sooner or later 8 of them will get to the final 8?
Well, of course they will. I mean, I do like the fact that we are getting some first-time coaches with some success, though.
Oh, I like it too. There's nothing wrong with it. But you asked me the question about coach or GM. The attrition rate of these young guys is not real good.
No,
and
it's not. It's not. I just wanted to point.
I think the owners. I know the owners are being told by one source, take a shot on the young guy, 3-year deal. If you make it a 5, so be it. But, if he's not good, you get out from under him. So that's the problem with this. They fire a lot of guys after 2 and 3 years. And they're not ready to. These guys survived it.
When we come back.
Most of them have a quarterback that got them somewhere.
When we come back, Pat picks the 4 games. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat.
Yes.
Do you think that this year's Bills team is better than last year's Bills team?
Yes. They paid attention to running the ball a little bit more. And
Pat,
the quarterback was better, period. Yes.
2 things. First off, Johnny Mack wants to know, are you on the putting green?
Johnny, no, I took today off from that. I've got to actually get ready for these games. Here's
you flying out today or tomorrow?
I played Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I had a great time, but I'm getting anxiety attacks about not getting ready for the Senior Bowl because it takes a long time to get, familiarized with 115 guys, set them up on charts so I can sit in the booth and watch practice and start recording observations. So I'm just plowing through them, getting ready to do the D-line as soon as I get off with you guys.
Mark wanted to know, you flying up tonight?
a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
So we have, I get in at 8:45, and we have a rehearsal at 11:30. That gets over, it's really a meeting. There's no more rehearsals. We get over at 12:30. I'm going to run over downstairs and do the radio show 1 to 4, and then get upstairs for our stuff. So, yeah. It's a nice, busy day.
And Pat, for the record, Mark took the Bengals and then 3 home teams. And I took the home team Saturday and the road team Sunday.
I'll be taking Tennessee, Green Bay, Kansas City, and Tampa Bay. So
4 home teams?
4 homes, which, yeah, you know, the home teams are 13-3 in the last 16 divisional round games. So, and I like them. The one team I was nervous about taking, honestly, was Tampa Bay with all the injuries.
Yeah, I'm with you. That scares me too.
Yeah, it's not the receivers as much as the linemen.
Right, but I mean that's what I went through it, Pat. And okay. Obviously, the quarterback's better in Tampa. The linebackers and tight end are better with Tampa. Is there another group in this game that you think Tampa's better than the Rams?
Well, I do think if they had their tackle and
but they don't.
center and they were healthy, but they don't. Yeah, so it's a problem. It is a real problem. And those guys got after. I watched that game last night. Those guys got after Brady the first time they played. Did you do that game, David?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I mean, they got after, and they blitzed the crap out of them too. I mean,
Yes,
not 100 times, but they were effective getting to Tom.
And remember, they had a full complement of receivers that game, and they still went after him. I think without 2 of their top 3, they're going to put Ramsey's going to shadow Evans, I think 70+% of the time, and I think they are coming after TB12.
I agree, and I'm nervous about taking them, but I promised myself I'd take Brady till he died.
I'll say this, though. If he gets any kind of time, those tight ends could destroy the Rams. I'm not crazy about the linebackers and pass coverage, and their safeties are hurt, and the replacements are very vulnerable. The tight ends, they may play 2 tight ends a lot. I would if I was Tampa. I might go 2 tight ends every snap.
I would do it for that because I do agree with you. The linebackers and safeties are not going to handle Gronk. I wonder if they'd put Ramsey on Gronk in the red zone. But I'm with you. I'd be in 12 personnel the whole time. And it will help the tackles. Because when you line up that tight end next to the tackle, you got to widen the end, and that helps Brady. You give Brady a half a second extra, he'll be fine. You know, that game makes me nervous. I would love to see Buffalo win, honestly.
30 seconds.
Tennessee better win, though, because I already got my flight to Tennessee for the championship game. Really pissed if I have to switch.
You will.
All the flights to Green Bay next weekend are sold out. Closest I can get is Appleton.
Oh, Appleton's fine.
Yeah, it's about
In fact,
40.
I like flying to Appleton more.
10 seconds.
All right,
here we go, guys.
They have a better escape flight.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
19 minutes past the hour. Our final segment of the week with Pat Kirwan of NFL Radio. Weekday afternoons, Moving the Chains with Jim Miller. And they do a 1 to 4 show Saturday as well. He joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and many points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh.
Well, let's start in order. Let's go Cincinnati at Tennessee. Pat, Cincinnati's defensive line's banged up, although they get their big sack man back this week. Their offensive line gave up 51 sacks during the regular season to Joe Burrow. Despite all that, I like the quarterback. I'm going to take Burrow over Tannehill and take Cincinnati in a close one. How do you see this, Pat?
Yeah, I would take Burrow over Tannehill as well, but I won't take the team over the team. I'll take Tennessee. Hardball, the Ogunjobi deal, and even if you think you have a replacement, you really don't. they're going to pound the run, and I think Derrick Henry will be fine. I saw Cam Akers last week, I think we'll see the same kind of really good performance. Low scoring, Tennessee. I like the way they're an ugly football team. There's nothing to love because they're not flashy, but they can pound the ball and they can play defense and they will get after Burrow. So that's why I think that we'll see a Tennessee win. And it won't be a lot of points. So 24-20, something like that.
The nightcap tomorrow, Packers at home, where they're not nearly as good in the playoffs in the last 20 years as you would think. In fact, I believe they're just a game above 500 at home in the playoffs in the last 18 years. Niners, a good road team. San Francisco at Green Bay. How do you see it?
Well, the last time they played, San Francisco had the lead with 37 seconds left in the game. But I do like Green Bay in this game. I know that history is scary to look at, but Green Bay this year is 5-1 against playoff teams. So when they had to play the quality of teams that are left, they were able to beat them. I don't think it's going to be easy. Last time they played, the two running backs in Green Bay had 100 yards. That's good news. They couldn't handle Devontae Adams. He caught 12 for over 130 yards. So I like Green Bay in this game. I think our friend Rodgers has been on a mission, and I don't think he's going anywhere next year, but I think this is the kind of game that's going to get him to where he really wants to go to the Super Bowl, and he has enough power in there. But be careful with Mr. Debo. Although Debo didn't do a thing the last time they played, he has become a superstar, and I'm so happy I voted for him for All-Pro. And I had to leave out a very good receiver, but this guy's so dynamic. But they're beat up a little bit, the 49ers. And there's some guys are going to make it back like Bosa, but they are not at 100%. I don't think the quarterback's at 100% either.
All right, to Sunday we go. By the way, if there's another reason to follow the show on Twitch, would be the commercial breaks with Pat Kirwan. We kind of went through this game in detail without Pat really getting into who he thinks is going to win. But the Rams and Bucks, you look at the Bucks, the two offensive linemen that are banged up. We know about the receiving core. They are a depleted team, but they have this guy named Brady playing quarterback the last time I checked, Pat.
Yeah, I kind of made an official statement to you guys. And as long as Brady's playing and he's 100%, which he is, I'll be taking Brady. But I don't like this game for Tampa for a lot of reasons. And it's really the injuries in the offensive line. It's the lack of depth in the receiver group. Stafford actually looked like the guy that they wanted last week. He has 19 touchdown passes in his last 8 games, but he has thrown some interceptions and lost some fumbles, etc. I am taking Tampa in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an upset the other way. I hate to see that happen to Brady. He worked so hard for all these phenomenal things. And the last time they played, and I know David covered that game, they got after Brady. They blitzed almost 15 times in the game. Just going back and looking at it, they were effective. They sacked him once. They hit him about 3 times. I think David's idea of playing 2 tight ends if you're Tampa is the right way to go because there's safety issues in Ramland and there's linebacker coverage issues. This could be a big day for Gronk because I think they'll take Ramsey, walk him over, like David said, and put him over there on Mike Evans. They'll still throw to him because I've seen Ramsey get beat on a stutter route and things like that. They'll throw to him. They're not afraid to, but the meat and potatoes of this game is going to be throwing in the middle of the field to the tight ends.
And if you missed it earlier, Mark is taking Tampa Bay. I am going with the Rams. I feel that this is a bad matchup. The Rams have beaten them each of the last 2 years with Brady, and they match up really well, and the injuries make it an even better matchup for the Rams. The heavyweight championship bout, a rematch of last year's AFC championship game. It feels as if it is this year's AFC championship game, quite frankly. Buffalo at Kansas City.
Well, the first thing I'll say is, and we all know that Buffalo beat them 38-20 the last time. And we all know that Chris Jones, Melvin Ingram wasn't there. Jones didn't play. Travarius Ward didn't play. So you can build a case for Kansas City, which I will here in a minute. But if you followed last week in rematch games, and I'm not talking about the division ones where you had, and I think they split in both cases last week. But in rematch games, the team that lost the first time did not win this time. So last week was a good indicator. If you lost in a regular season, you were going to lose again. So do I feel that way in this one? Man, I like Buffalo a lot, but I'm not taking them. Not in Kansas City, not with Mahomes in the postseason. He's only lost one postseason game. The guy throws tons of touchdowns. He will run more in the postseason games. That's a fact. I was standing on the sideline when they played Tennessee in the championship game 2 years ago, and strategic runs right before halftime to get another touchdown. And he's got to match the athleticism of the kid on the other side, who we all know is the best runner. The last time they played, the two quarterbacks led the teams in rushing. They will do that again. I'll tell you, Kansas City, I don't know, late field goals. It's going to be maybe the lead changed 4 or 5 times. These quarterbacks are both capable of bringing their teams back.
Well, you and I have it the same way. I called it with a Kansas City field goal late. Does it feel like the AFC Championship to you, Pat?
This feels like a big-time game. And here's what it feels like to me, and probably to you too, Mark. I hope. If this is going to set up as the argument of the next decade, who's the best quarterback, Mahomes or Allen? And everyone thinks it's Mahomes yesterday and probably today. But I think my friend up there in Buffalo is going to make this a real heavy debate, which we'll enjoy on this radio show for years to come. The AFC is loaded with quarterbacks, young and all emerging. And we know the list of all the guys that are coming through the ranks here, Herbert, et cetera, so Burrow. But these two, I think, are going to start a rivalry right now that probably, I don't know, David, you're our historian here. They probably will see each other for the AFC Championship 3 or 4 more times in their career.
Well, this could be the next generation's, not saying they're going to be this good, this Brady Manning, who faced one another at 3 times in 4 years in the playoffs. And then, of course, Peyton goes to Denver and they face one another a couple of more times. All the Steve Young, Brett Favre, Niners, Packers matchups in the 90s after it was Aikman against Steve Young and or Brett Favre. So it does seem as if we are shaping up where we could get a decade of some combination of Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, maybe. I mean, this could be a generation we look back on, Pat.
I feel that way, and they came into this league with such talent and so much throwing experience that it's going to be hard in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl every year because there's too many good ones lining up here. So the NFC will catch up someday, but they had a lot of the older ones. And that cycle hasn't really hit them yet because of Brady and Rodgers holding off everybody. But the AFC exploded a couple of years ago. Now we're sitting here with just a stable full of great ones. And these two, after what I saw from Allen last week, they might be the best of a really good group.
Pat, final question. You could argue 6 of these teams have 6 of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league. And then there's Tennessee and San Francisco, who seem as if they're still trying to get it done a way that you could win a championship a generation ago with a good quarterback, but a better running game and a good or better defense. Is that kind of what's on trial here? Can you still win a championship the way that Kyle Shanahan and Mike Vrabel have put their teams together and are trying to win a title?
Well, it's definitely going to be challenged once again. So how often, David, have we seen that formula win a Super Bowl in the last 10 years?
Well,
it's a quarterback-driven league, really.
Right, and really the only one that I can pinpoint, Pat, first off, Peyton's last year, he was a shell of himself, but it kind of depends on what you think of Joe Flacco and the 2012 Ravens. And I thought Flacco and the offense actually carried the Ravens defense that year in the postseason. So it's hard. You really have to go back, Pat, to Brad Johnson and the 02 Bucks, obviously the Ravens team of 2000. It's been really a generation since you could win a championship this way.
That's right. It's over 20 years now. So I think we've established it's the Bill Cowher rule. A defense will get you to the playoffs. A quarterback will win you a Super Bowl. And it was the first time he said it, I made him say it again because I didn't believe it came out of his mouth, but it did. And so I think we understand where this league is now. And it's going to be hard for me to think Tennessee could win the big game. Now, if they do, it'll be a great throwback, if you will. But I had two GMs rank the quarterbacks in the playoffs when we started the whole thing with 14 of them. And it's amazing. The guys they ranked at the bottom are all gone, except for Tannehill. They're all gone. And it comes right down to it. So I think we're going to have a great weekend of football. It'll be fun to talk about it on Tuesday. Mark, just one difference between you and me, Cincinnati, Tennessee, everything else we see the same. But I'll tell you this. I hope it doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong on all 4 games.
Pat, when you talk to Bill Cowher later today, he became the head coach of the Steelers 30 years ago today.
Oh, I'll be bringing that up this morning. Should I sing happy birthday to him?
Pat, safe travels. Thanks for your insight, and we'll talk again on Tuesday.
You guys.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio Moving the Chains, weekday afternoons 3 to 7. They also do a Saturday show, he and Jim, 1 to 4.
He works a lot.
And he likes it.
Loves it.
Makes fun of his co-host when he takes a day off.
That's the funny thing, is that Jim wants to have a life. Jim's not afraid to take a day or 2 off.
I know.
Pat just ridicules him every time he takes a day.
Right. Jim has the audacity of using his 2 to 3 weeks of vacation.
Right.
Pat thinks you should get like 2 to 3 days.
If that.
Pat Kirwan joining us once again. Courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, many points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. To Kansas City we go. Soren Petro with the Chiefs' perspective as they try to get to the AFC Championship game for the 4th straight year. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening to Florida Sports Network. Hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Rodgers has a future in whatever he wants. I mean, I'm sure someone would. Anytime, if a Hall of Fame cornerback wants to get in the broadcast booth, he's going to get a job.
Yes.
So he has a future in it if he wants a future in it. I don't think he wants a future in broadcasting. I don't think Rodgers wants anything to do with football when he's done. How would you rank the quarterbacks in this 1 to 8? I just saw a thing on there. I was right now at this moment. Who's 1? You want to do this? Well, we got Soren. You want to do this at? Well, you want to do it 9:17?
Yeah.
Or we're gonna pick our games again. We can just do that. We can.
However you want to do it. Quarterbacks, picks, quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just saw like a chart with it. I'm like, that's something we can.
Yep. I'd go Jimmy G 8, Tannehill 7.
Question is, who would you go 6? Make you think
L.A.
or Cincy?
I'd probably go Stafford.
I would too.
It's close.
It is. And then how do you do the top 4, based on right now? You're going to really take someone over Tom?
Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. But you're also saying I'm going to take someone over Tom Brady.
Yes. But I would go Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, Allen. Now, Allen can move up the ladder. But
no, I'm with you.
I've never seen anybody better in person than Aaron Rodgers.
How many times have you seen TB12 in person? And I'm not. 'Cause
'Cause
you've seen Rodgers a lot more. That
I have, but I've seen Tom like six times, just with Fox, and maybe even one or two more. And I saw him early in his career with the Patriots. I think Tom is more dependent on the system, and Rodgers, I think, can just playground you. And
I'm going to quit asking questions because I got 2 or 3 good follow-ups, or I'm going to leave for 20 minutes.
now it would not shock me, if Rodgers goes in, has a couple of business ventures that probably do quite well. I will throw it in underhanded with
Soren.
a girls' basketball coaching question, and then you could start.
With Soren.
Yeah. Remember, he coached his daughter.
Oh, okay.
Like middle school girls.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
So,
have we moved him up to a, what type of defense are we running?
Right. Just wondering, more sophisticated, is this a rebuild?
Yeah, we got to be like 5th grade ball now.
We're back in 10. Soren just told me to call the other number, so I'm going to have him on.
Okay. And it's Soren.
Soren. Soren. That's terrible. 10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before we say goodbye to the folks in the Greater Lake City area and Tampa St. Pete. The bonus hour begins at the top of the hour in Fort Myers and Naples. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network, thrilled to be joined once again by Soren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. You can follow Soren on Twitter at Soren Petro, Soren Petro. Soren, it's David and Mark, and before we get to the Chiefs, we need a girls basketball coaching update. All right, is the team a year older? Is this a rebuild? I mean, are we working in new offenses and defenses? How are things going?
So, I don't know if you remember how bad my voice would be come this time of year. I hung up my my whistle and, retired after 3 years, 3 league titles, and said that's all I can do. So I handed the reins to others, and they travel on without me. I'm sorry, I don't have a better update.
Was it your decision to step down, or was it your daughter's, or even better, was it your wife's?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It was a collective one. Not the daughter, but the wife certainly didn't mind watching it go away. She didn't like the time that was necessarily being spent on on the prep and going and scouting the opposition and those kind of things. I think she's quite happy that I'm not doing it anymore.
When you break out the chalkboard at dinner, it never goes over well, Soren. It never seems to go over well. This game to us has the feel of an AFC championship game. Does it have the same feeling in and around Kansas City?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, the Bills handled the Chiefs rather easily by the fourth quarter when they played earlier this year. So there's an understanding that the Buffalo Bills can take care of business and have already done it. And so I think from a Chiefs standpoint, they know that they're a worthy adversary. The fans know that the Bills are the adversary. And I think if you just look around, I mean, no offense to the Titans who beat both these teams and are the one seed for a reason. But I think there's a feeling that the Bills and Chiefs, when they have their day, are a better team than the Titans and maybe the two best teams in the NFL. So, yeah, that's the feeling here. I mean, and maybe that sets up a letdown next week for whoever does win this game. But there's a lot going into it for both these organizations because I've spoken to a number of people in Buffalo, and that's the feeling that's here for both teams.
All right, but when they played, that was during the part of the season where the Chiefs were kind of going through their out-of-body experience. Then shortly after that, they have figured things out in a big way. But then again, the Bills seemingly, after losing that Monday nighter to the Patriots, have figured some things out in a big way. What do you see biggest difference now versus when they played then?
Yeah, I think for the Bills, they'll play without Tre'Davious White in their secondary. So I think that's a big loss for them on their defensive side of the ball. And I think opens up the ability of the Chiefs being able to be much more explosive than they were against the Bills. The Bills were one of those teams that in the first 7 games was really playing the shell defense with the cover 2 and taking away the big stuff over the top. And the Chiefs were having to adjust and figure out how to do that. And then offensively, I think the Bills have added Devin Singletary over the last 5 or 6 games. And he's averaging over 100 yards from scrimmage and getting in the end zone, and I think that makes him a lot more multidimensional. It's always tough when a quarterback runs, and I think everybody can see Josh Allen and what kind of threat he's kind of like a better passing Newton. And that's and I know Steve Spagnuolo yesterday said to us, that's a big part of what they've got to prepare for, tackling, because he is a big physical runner, and they'll certainly unleash him. They're not going to worry about saving him for later in the year at this point. So, add in Devin Singletary now, who they really weren't using early on, and they're a much more multi-dimensional threat. But the Chiefs played that game, like I said, before they'd really found themselves. They were still playing Dan Sorensen in the deep secondary. He got beat badly that night against the Buffalo Bills. Juan Thornhill, much younger, more athletic player, has stepped in safety role and plays the majority of the snaps there. They've gotten their 2 second-round linebackers, Nick Bolton and Willie Gay, assuming Willie Gay plays after the arrest yesterday. But that's really helped them be a lot more athletic, be able to cover a lot better out of the backfield with the linebacker spot. And then Chris Jones didn't play in that first game. Melvin Ingram wasn't signed to play or traded for from the Steelers to play at the left defensive end spot. That allowed Chris Jones to move back down to D tackle. There are a lot of different moving, and Frank Clark was just coming back from injury after missing the first 5 or 6 games of the year, and his hamstring wasn't 100%. So, I think both teams are better now. I think the Chiefs feel like, and Charvarius Ward, one of their starting corners, didn't play in that game either. So they were down a lot of personnel, really hadn't found themselves with the personnel that they wanted to play that was already in-house. And so I think the Bills will be better offensively, but I think the Chiefs feel like they will be a lot better and more equipped to stop the Bills this time around.
Soren, one of the things that both of these teams should be able to do against the other is run the football. But can Andy be patient enough to take advantage of a running game that might be there? Or at the end of the day, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Hill, it's Kelsey. Let's start chucking this thing around.
The 2020 version of beating the Bills for the Chiefs involved a lot of running the football. The Bills were one of the first teams to start kind of trying to take away things over the top, not get beat by the pass, playing 6-7 guys in the box. And the Chiefs were patient. Clyde Edwards-Helaire kind of had his coming out party against the Bills and had a big day on the ground. I think the Chiefs wanted to get to that in the first game, but it kind of bit them. They had a number of times watching that game back, on the quick cuts here earlier this week. They would 8-yard pass completion and run it twice and get 1 yard and then -2 yards and end up punting. They wanted to kind of play back the way they had, rerun the games that had played before, and the Bills did a better job of stopping the run. So I think, that may have bit them a little bit trying to run. I think if it's there, they will do it. The question is, who will they do it with? Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't play last week because of his shoulder. He's practiced this week, so there's a feeling that he'll be back. But Darrell Williams isn't practicing. He's had a toe injury and was really ineffective last week. Jerick McKinnon played really well in stepping in. And so, they have kind of different packages for different backs. And, if you wanted to run the ball, Darrell Williams is that guy, but I don't know that he's going to be ready to go in this game. And so it'll be interesting to see which running backs play for Andy Reid and how he decides to use them.
He's Soren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. Follow him on Twitter at Soren Petro, Soren Petro. How much more gas is in this run for the Chiefs? Does this feel like it's still ascending midway through whatever this run is with this core? Or does this feel as if, boy, we're the fighter who's, trying to fend off the young guys, and I don't know how much time we got left?
I think from it's funny because the Chiefs dismantle the Steelers 42-21. The quarterback throws for 405 yards, 5 touchdowns. And 2 of the first 3 calls I got on Monday were the Chiefs got to quit the stupid penalties. They had 3 penalties for 25 yards in the game. And then the Chiefs defensive backs have to quit being so handsy and have to do a better job of looking at the quarterback to create interceptions. Again, they just beat the Steelers in a game that wasn't nearly as close as the 42-21 score would make you think. They scored 6 touchdowns. The quarterback threw 5 touchdowns in 10.5 minutes. 10.5 minutes of game time. That includes the time the Steelers had the ball. He threw 5 touchdowns in 10.5 minutes to wrap up the second quarter and get the third quarter started. And the fans were ho-hum and complaining about things. I mean, I think that speaks to the how spoiled Chiefs fans have become in looking at this team. But I think the flip side is I think the front office and the organization understands that they bought out Patrick Mahomes, price this year, bought him back down to $7 million. And there's some $43 and $56 million cap hits that are coming on that contract very soon. They might be able to buy it out for 1 more year. I think the organization understands that the time is now. I think that's why they moved the 6th-round pick. Doesn't sound like much, but they've moved a lot of picks for players over the last few years. They're certainly not the Rams in moving all their high picks, but they moved a 6th-round pick to get Melvin Ingram because they feel like the time is now. The team is good enough to win now, and they're trying to maximize what it is. If you ask me that question, I view they need to cash this year and next year because there's going to be a step back, maybe 2 steps back when it comes to trying to reorganize the cap, even if the cap does go up because they've got some big hits that are going to start next year. They're over the cap right now and have like 34 players for next season. So it's going to take and give credit to Brett Veach and his staff. They've done a phenomenal job of massaging the cap and keeping this team where it is. But I think your point's a really good one. They need to strike while the iron's hot. You're not always in this position. They're one of the healthiest teams coming into the postseason, so they need to take advantage of it and cash for as much as they can right now.
Will they have enough fireworks for the game this week?
I think so. I do think it's what you said, a championship caliber game with 2 really good teams. And I think if either one of them has a day and the other one's off, then you could have a blowout because both these offenses are explosive. If they're both on their game, then I think it's going to be a great football game. And I think both teams will land their shots. I do think the fireworks, I think the Chiefs have gotten better at finding ways to beat the shell defenses that teams have been playing. I mentioned Tre'Davious White. I think, that's a sensational corner that now isn't there to handle the Chiefs receivers. I think their secondary receivers, the Byron Pringles and McCole Hardmans and DeMarcus Robinson, have been doing a really good job of being there for Patrick Mahomes and giving them a threat. They've done a better job. Mahomes has done a better job of checking down to the running back. So I think they're a lot more multidimensional. And I think if you're in a close game, Josh Allen almost came back against the Bucs this year, but name a time where Josh Allen, won the game when the game was close. I'm not saying he can't do it. I just haven't seen him do it. I've seen Patrick Mahomes do it. So, like I said, this game could be a blowout if one team has a bad day. But if it's a close game, I think you favor the quarterback that's done it more often, and that's Patrick Mahomes. And so, I think there will be some explosions in this game, and I think it'll be a great game to watch. And I'd like the Chiefs to get it done just because of the quarterback.
Enough brisket and fireworks in the greater Kansas City area for this one?
Oh yeah. Listen, there's never a shortage of red meat. Come on, this is where it will happen. There will be, even though now listen, it's 3 degrees in Kansas City right now. Now it's supposed to be, I think, 34 degrees or so for kickoff. It's going to warm up, but no matter what, the grills will be going. There will be a fog of barbecue in the air when this game kicks off. And always the night games, the fans will be certainly lubricated for kickoff. It will be a raucous crowd at Arrowhead for sure.
It is far and away the best smelling parking lot in the NFL. Not even close. Not
Take
even
a lot of
close.
pride in it for sure.
I have to do it once.
Yes.
That's a bucket list tailgate item for me.
Yes. Soren, thanks for your time. Congratulations on hanging it up as a champion. Don't ever go back to coach.
No, we can't. You don't want to tarnish the record.
Right.
That's good advice. Thank you. I will follow it.
You do not want to be a Stetson Bennett the fourth, okay, and win the title and still have eligibility remaining and come back. You want to walk. Your eligibility is done. That's your answer.
No, you go John Madden. It's to the booth now. Let the win percentage, live on, and now I just fade away into the sunset.
Thank you, Soren.
Always my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Soren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. Follow him on Twitter at Soren Petro, Soren Petro. He joins us here on Miller and Moulton.
I was going to say when you were leading into the first question, or is there a coaching change? Because it dawned on me at some point when you're coaching little kids, you just say, okay, I've given my time for someone else to do this.
So your gut feeling was, look at that. We hadn't talked to him since last year.
No.
His voice is so much better. It really is. I don't know how many of you were with us in our second act, but the last couple of years, with the Chiefs making this run, we've hooked up with Soren come late regular season and playoff time. And I mean, he sounded like Tom Izzo.
Yes. And it was coaching like 4th grade girls basketball.
He did say scouting the other team, though. I hope he was just being a little tongue-in-cheek there.
Being a little facetious.
Yes.
But I do think the wife had a lot to do with that decision.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
I know where he's at. I had my first, and I'm not coaching, but I had my first girls softball practice last night.
Wait, hold on. We're on to softball now?
Oh, we just finished soccer season ended. Now we got softball season.
Listen, I've been paying attention to your 7-year-old daughter's athletic career here. I've never heard softball mentioned
brand new
before. Oh,
first time. Bats left.
Oh, look at that. Can you get her to throw left?
No.
Oh, man. A lot of money in it if you can get her to throw left.
She's not going to be a pitcher. I'm not worried about her throwing.
I mean, now there's NIL money, Mark. I mean, it's a real chance to take care of this. I mean, there's a real chance to pocket all that money you two are putting away in the bank. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be taken care of for you.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Got a good friend who's an acclaimed pitching coach. I mean,
he is.
You can get free lessons and everything.
No, if she wants to throw the pill, I've literally have the best pitching coach in the country to help her. But we'll cross that bridge when we can, field, bat, and throw, David. We're working on the basics at this point.
Whatever. I'm looking ahead. I'm thinking big, Mark.
I know you are. I love it.
I'm thinking big. Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday, and they are dwindling, folks. I mean, we got 7 games left, and 4 of them are this weekend. So please make your plans accordingly. I mean, come on now.
This is when it starts to hit you. See, I'm all giddy about the games, and then you give me that. I'd rather say, Tennessee -3.5, Green Bay -5.5, Tampa -3, Kansas City -1.5.
Yeah, it's like half a point a day on that game. It's coming down.
Think about the money that is coming on the Buffalo Bills. It has been crazy to see that big of a game and the line move that significantly.
Bengals have never in franchise history won a road playoff game. Tom Brady has only lost 4 times in the divisional round. Matthew Stafford's never won a road playoff game. Josh Allen and the Bills group here, having made the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years, have never won a road playoff game.
The final hour of the week is on the other side. Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back to you on Monday. Southwest Florida, your bonus hours on the other side right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football is simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I will gladly be Maddie's agent. I will make her the richest WNBA athlete.
She's going to be 5'2". She ain't going to be a WNBA athlete. I'm 5'8". My wife's 5'2". If my daughter's 5'4", that would be really pushing it.
Who's the tallest person in your family?
All my dad's side, everybody on my dad's side of the family is gigantic. I got the short gene. My dad was 6'2". His brothers were 6'4" and 6'3". My cousin played professional hockey, was 6'5" and a brawler. His younger brother, 6'3". I'm the only Miller under 6 foot. My other cousin played football at Vanderbilt.
Dude, you got screwed.
Totally. Yeah, you think? Money, girls, life. Yeah. The fact that people over 6 foot tall make more money than people under 6 foot tall, it's been documented.
Oh, yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for the growth. I'm not bitter at all of a 6'2" father and being 5'8". No. I'm still waiting for the growth spurt, Philly. I figure any day now I should get a couple inches.
Short kings.
Wow. Didn't realize we were talking about this.
Well, he just asked if he said WNBA for Maddie. I said, I'm 5'8". My wife's 5'2". I don't think the WNBA is in her future.
No,
how
maybe
tall
as
are
a
you?
broadcaster. I'm 5'10".
Who's the tallest person in your family?
Actually, it's funny. My father's side has some very tall people. My dad was a touch taller than me. His brother was a few inches taller than that. My grandmother, my dad's mom, looked me in the eye.
And my mom's 5'6". And my dad was 6'2". My mom was 5'6". This shouldn't have happened.
My mom's side of the family is short. My dad's side of the family was above average height.
And I'm very much I'm a Bordeaux. Like the Bordeaux were all short.
Yeah, I'm a Molten.
See, for me, I got lucky. My dad is 5'5". My mom is 5'6". I'm 5'10".
Wow.
So
you were 5'9" yesterday. How'd you grow an inch?
How tall is the post?
You literally typed in here that you were 5'9".
Well, I like
No. Is that factual that you typed you were the basketball thing? You shrunk so you could be better?
Someone else said that I was 5'9", but I like saying 5'9" because Isaiah Thomas is 5'9", and Isaiah Thomas is a freaking badass.
Isaiah Thomas was 6'1".
No, my Isaiah Thomas, not your Isaiah Thomas.
I was gonna say.
And he's not my Isaiah Thomas.
That's like
he can be my Joe Dumars. I was never even when he played for the Pistons, when Isaiah led them in scoring, they lost. That game when he hobbles around, everybody raves about playing on the bad ankle. You know what the final score was? Well, Detroit was on the low end. Okay.
You weren't an IT fan?
I will say though, I mean, they called that bullshit foul on Lambeer against Jabbar. I mean, that's why they lost that game by 1. That wasn't Zeke's fault.
No, but I'm
mean,
just
Zeke
saying
single-handedly brought him back.
when Zeke led them
Yes.
in scoring, they lost.
Yes.
When he decided he had to be the scorer, it was not the best thing for that team.
Right.
When he was a facilitator,
Right.
he was a better player for the team. That's all.
Right. Early to mid 80s when he was Iverson, okay, they couldn't get past really the first round, make it maybe the second round of the playoffs. Chuck Daly came in and said, hey,
it's amazing in Detroit because they did that with Isaiah, and then Bowman comes in and makes Steve Yzerman, who was a 50-goal scorer, great offensive player, and he says, you're going to have to learn how to play defense. Yeah. Turn them into a two-way player, and then they start winning cups. It was, I mean,
Scotty Bowman had enough talent where he could have won every game 5-4 and came in and said, yeah, we have to learn how to win games 2-1 and 3-2. That's how you win championships.
Defense.
Not anymore.
No, but at the time.
Make defense cool again.
Never. Defense has never been cool, never will be cool.
Oh,
defense is
clamps.
very cool.
No, it's not. Defense is not cool.
Clamps.
Defense is hard work.
2013 Miami Heat basketball. Defense.
What are we doing here?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday. Thanks for being with us. The Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. We'll make our picks on the games. For those of you who have been with us throughout, you'll hear them for a second time because we made them nearly 2 hours ago. But we'll pick the 4 divisional playoff games coming up in about 20 minutes' time. I thought of something during the break. I went to get some water. And first off, I was humming a Meatloaf song in my head. If you don't know, Meatloaf passed away overnight at the age of 74. But I'm sitting here figuring out Tom Brady. And if the Bucs win Sunday, I think it would be his 15th conference championship game.
I don't know what you do other than laugh to that.
I don't know either. I'm pretty sure it would be his 15th. He's technically had a 23-year career, although he didn't really play as a rookie in 2000. So 01 through, well, really, no, 21 years.
And then he had the injury year
season.
where he...
02, they missed the playoffs.
Right.
08, he gets hurt, they miss the playoffs. And then, 05, remember, he didn't lose a playoff game till his 4th year in the playoffs. They win the Super Bowl 01, 03, 04, missed the playoffs in 02. He was 10-0 in the playoffs before they lost at Denver in 05. They get beat in the division round in 05 in Denver. They lose the AFC title game in 06 to the Colts. 09, they lose in the first round at home to the Ravens. 2010, they get beat in the division round at home to the Jets. Mark. And then his last year in New England, they get beat in the first round by the Titans. Is it 50? It's 14 or 15? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
And we know he's been to 10 Super Bowls and won 7, but I think it would be his 15th conference championship game.
He's won 10 conference championship games.
Right.
So he's lost 5. That's your...
Well, no, he will have lost 4. He lost in 06 to the Colts.
Right.
He lost in 2010 to the Ravens, and then he lost the 2 to Peyton in 2013 and 15. If the Bucs,
got that right.
If the Bucs win Sunday, it will be his 15th.
Yep.
Conference championship game.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. With that being said, I saw a little graphic that someone put together and ranked the 8 quarterbacks 1 to 8 that are playing this week.
Wow.
Right. At almost every level other than 7 and 8. Are you going to put Jimmy G 8 or are you going to put RT 17 8?
Well, I'm putting Jimmy G 8. In all honesty, just because of durability. All right. I think Tannehill has to get the nod because he's been far more durable throughout his career.
And he's a guy who's been injured, but it was mostly early in his career.
Jimmy's also playing injured.
Yep, he is. And
so if you're ranking him today, I think you've got to put Jimmy G 8. I mean, if you're ranking him for the games this weekend, I think you have to, based on what you just said, Felipe, is that if you take into account, 1, the durability, and 2, he's injured right now.
And I think he's increased his stock.
Yes.
With the last 2 weeks.
Because he's played through the injuries.
Yes. And played well. Played winning football against good teams. The Rams and Cowboys on the road.
Hard for me to have RT 17 7th and not 8th, but I think because of Jimmy G's injury, it's really close. I will give Tannehill the edge ever so slightly. That takes us to 6.
Right.
It's one of 2 guys, obviously. We all know who the top 4 are. Are you putting the second-year guy,
Joe Burrow,
ahead of Matthew Stafford?
Whew. Man.
I'm going to go Burrow Stafford.
5-6?
Yeah. Matt Stafford, if Jimmy G has the 3 bad throws a game, Matt Stafford has one catastrophic one seemingly every game.
When we're ranking guys, like I gave Tannehill the benefit of the doubt over Garoppolo because of durability. So I took into account his career.
I got you. But see, if you're just going to take it down career, it's tough for me not to have Brady 1. I'm just trying to almost go right now, right at this moment.
At this point in time.
Actual moment.
All right. Well, my love affair with RT-17, I'd still have him 7. But, man, I have just an unadulterated man crush on Joe Burrow that I have not had since you-know-who coming out of Stanford.
And you've had a crush on Matt Stafford throughout his career.
I have been a Matthew Stafford defender.
You have. More than me, and I like Matt Stafford a lot. I'm going to go Stafford 6, Burrow 5.
I'm going to go Stafford 5, Burrow 6. I mean, come on. You got a little something for the effort here. I mean,
those interceptions, that little 3-game run where he was just throwing the ball away nonstop. I can't get that out of my head.
I understand. They only threw the ball 17 times last week in the win over Arizona. It was a very mature win by the Rams.
Yeah. Sean McVay said, I can't let my quarterback lose this game for me, which is ironic because it's the guy he needed to win. Now we're to the top 4.
Right.
And if you're doing it at this moment in time, it's one of those like the Stetson Bennett answer yesterday. I don't know if there's a wrong answer to how you rank these 4 quarterbacks.
Okay. This moment in time, if you're really sticking to that, this moment in time, I mean, can you really put Tom Brady, no matter what the question is, and I mean that, no matter what the question is, could you really put Tom Brady 4th?
Unless you're ranking
4?
them by age and starting with youngest, David, no. But I could see something, he's the oldest.
Well, he can't beat you with his legs in any way. Obviously, the other 3 are all
have the ability to do so.
Right. And
but no one can sneak it in quite like TB12.
Well, that's true. Well, and he's just the greatest winner at the position that, we've seen since, maybe Otto Graham, if you want to go back that far and count it. But
so, all right, can I just do the old guys and the young guys, and then we can try to figure this out?
Well, I'm putting Josh Allen 4. I'm sorry. He hasn't even won a road playoff game yet.
All right.
I mean, yeah, and I know all the skill, and this might be a bigger, stronger, faster John Elway, but until it happens, and it may happen Sunday. But
can I ask you just really quickly on that? If Josh Allen does what you said he's going to do, and that's beats Kansas City. So let's just say, for sake of argument, you and I are both in agreement that we're going to go Mahomes 3, Allen 4. And I don't even know if you are, but just for sake of argument, work with me here for a second. If Josh Allen wins on Sunday, would you immediately reverse that?
Probably.
Think about how great that is.
Because
we might have a decade of watching these 2 guys.
Oh, I know.
We don't know which one's the better one.
And they're both signed long-term. So there's no, possibility, barring a really ugly, unforeseen divorce. I mean, the Chiefs and Bills have both signed these guys long term.
I have to put Tom 1. I do. Because Aaron hasn't proved to win the games that he needs to win to get the qualification for 1. So I go Tom, Aaron, Patrick, Josh.
So basically, when you're asking this, hypothetical or this, question that obviously beauty is completely in the eye of the beholder.
Correct.
But you're also essentially asking if you needed a quarterback for your team today, which one would you take?
Right.
And so you're saying of all the quarterbacks,
I'm still going to stick with the old guy who wins all the time.
And I would take the number 12 in Green Bay. Hey, you're right. I mean, he's 1-4 in conference championship games. It would be nice, kind of like Peyton, when Peyton finally got the second one as he was walking out the door. It would be nice, kind of like Phil winning the PGA at 51. You know what? With how many times you were there, you know what? It's good that you could add that last one. That really does bolster the resume.
Right. It moves you past a lot of other guys who you were really close with. That
Right.
one at 51, like you and I talked about, Watson gets that British, although Tom's
he's on the Mount Rushmore of the sport.
Right. And he's not.
Right. No.
He's on the whatever the next,
Right.
if they carve the next 4, he might get on that one.
Yeah, maybe.
But winning at nearly 60.
Right. He would be on the Mount Rushmore.
Right.
Listen, I've been very fortunate the last 4 years and even throughout my career. I've never seen anybody play the position better than Aaron Rodgers in person. Brady's the greatest winner. If I needed a quarterback today, if all the teams were even, if this was the IROC Racing Series, Mark.
Thank you for that. And everybody listening should understand how great that is, because
all
Miller and Moulton,
right,
when it really gets down to it, when we try to discuss these things, we always go back to the IROC Racing
So
League.
basically all the cars are even.
Right.
All right. And I'm just picking a driver. That's why Earnhardt and Mark Martin excelled in the IROC Racing Series. If the teams are even, I'm taking the guy in Green Bay.
Miller and Moulton. We will give our picks for the games. David's taking Aaron. I'm taking Tom. It may be a trend when we come back. Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Aaron Rodgers. Being the GOAT versus being the best are two different things. Because you can be the GOAT, but are you the best? David, just because I've never seen Aaron Rodgers in person. I've obviously been watching him my whole life on TV, but the eye test really is just that. He's the best quarterback you've ever seen in your entire life. Yes or no?
In person.
If you were to describe it to someone who's never watched football, what would you say? Like, what is it? What is it about it?
He honestly, there are times in which he looks like he's playing a game that no one else is playing, that he's a player or two ahead. He controls the pace of the game from the quarterback position. And he almost always seems as if he's ahead of the defensive adjustments.
How much play calling is he doing?
A lot at the line.
The dude is unbelievable.
He's really impressive. Obviously, he needs to go to and win another Super Bowl, but he is really impressive. Well, first off, Adam, I don't know how many times they played outside of last year. I mean, you know, and there was a difference in that game. One team had 5 sacks and one team had none.
They played like 3 years ago.
I mean, people forget Brady threw 3 interceptions in that NFC Championship game. In a row, 3 straight series, threw 3 interceptions.
I can't believe that Green Bay did not win that game.
I can believe they didn't win. I just can't believe that they didn't go for it
Right
inside the 10.
That's what I'm referring to.
You know what I can't believe? If you are watching the show on Twitch and you haven't yet hit the follow button.
Right.
That's what I can't believe.
It's very simple. You love the show. You're here.
Unbelievable.
Someone asks you on the street, do you follow the show? You're going to say, yeah, I follow. I listen to it. No, but do you follow it?
It would not have been the best sports win of all time, Johnny Mac.
It
would have been the best golf win of all time.
It would have been the greatest golf win of all time.
But
it would have surpassed Jack.
Ooh.
It would have.
Ooh.
Come on, 13 years older.
I got you, but it's Jack and it was Augusta. There's just a
well, and it was who Jack beat. I mean, Tom would have edged out Stuart Sink.
Right.
And
I
Lee
still
Westwood.
think Jack. I still think it's Jack.
I would have voted Tom.
I know, and I don't know if you're wrong.
59.
I don't know if you're wrong, but I'm saying it's just because it's Jack. And I'm
whose birthday's today? Oh, by the way. Would have been his 6th. Would have been his 9th major, too. Gets him up there with player.
I'll tell you what, this Nick Canepa is going to have some explaining to do here pretty quickly. If he actually didn't vote for Jeter and didn't.
Well, from what you told me, he almost made it sound as if he didn't realize he was on the ballot.
Correct.
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous. Now, so he turned, he said he turned in a blank ballot then, because if he didn't submit it at all, Jeter would have been unanimous.
He turned in the last 2 years, he's turned in a blank ballot.
Well, then he knew Jeter was on it then. Or he was stoned and missed it.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
$25 seconds.
I would argue Owens.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
19 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Network growing next week as well, as we'll be in Port Charlotte all the way up to Venice on 1070 The Zone. Looking forward to that.
You can always take the show with you. MillerandMoulton.com. You can pick up the podcast at all of the usual places. You can text the show by texting the keyword FSN Radio to 21,000. That's FSN Radio, all one word, to 21,000. And then you have opened the door to texting the show at your heart's desire. You can always tweet either of us. It's that Mark Miller or the David Moulton.
Which is also where you go to vote in our poll question of the day, which will be up there through a good part of tomorrow as well, because it involves the divisional playoffs. How many road teams are going to win? Cincinnati, San Francisco, the Rams, and the Bills are the road teams. The choices are 0, 1, 2, or 3 or more. Mark thinks one road team is going to win. I think 2. And neither one of us picked the same team.
Start with Cincinnati at Tennessee. I have been all over the Bengals from the word go in this game. Throughout the week, different people have given me enough information to try to make me change that pick. It hasn't happened. I'm taking the Bengals in a close one. Give me Cincinnati to win on the road.
Mark's pick is 30-27. The one thing I will say, though, the half here could be a valuable half. That if Tennessee wins, would it surprise you that they win by a field goal, and having the Bengals in 3.5 actually pays off? Would this be the one number on the board in which the losing team covers? Just throwing that out there. I like Tennessee to win and cover 31-24. I think the Bengals will get off to a good start. First half will be going pretty well. And ultimately, Tennessee will just be more physical. Both sides of the ball. They'll wear the Bengals down, and they'll win 31-24. To Green Bay we go tomorrow night. 15 degrees or thereabouts at kickoff. By the fourth quarter, maybe high single digits. Slightly windy, not nearly as bad as it could be. The Niners probably built for these elements. The one person I think we're all curious about is Garoppolo and his thumb on his throwing hand.
Right. I mean, the style that they play should not be a problem for the Niners to go to this game. And I'm going to amend my pick because I had 30-24. I'm going to change it because it's 5.5 to 29-24 because Crosby's going to miss an extra point at some point. That's going to give me the win and the cover.
Look at you.
Hey, he's been an incredibly inconsistent kicker this year for a guy that's been so good for so long.
Although he did hit the 51-yarder at the gun when these two teams met in the regular season. I think it was a Sunday night game. Niners took the lead with 37 seconds to go, and Aaron Rodgers, a couple of passes to Devontae Adams. That is something to keep in mind. Devontae, last 4 times these teams have met, and they played 4 times in the last 3 years. Twice in 2019, once last year, and this will be twice this year. But in the last 4 meetings, Devontae is averaging almost 10 catches a game. I mean, the Niners have no answer for him. And I don't know that they're going to have an answer tomorrow night either. No Valdez-Scantling will help San Francisco.
Absolutely.
And Bakhtiari looks to be the most vulnerable of the injured players coming back. And Jair Alexander, I don't think Jair starts, but I think he's part of their nickel package. The news has not been good on Bakhtiari all week.
No, it hasn't. And you mentioned earlier, what type of game does Kittle have? Is Kittle going to be a 9-10 catch guy for 80 to 120 yards? How important can Kittle be in this game? Because if he's effective, obviously that's a big plus for the Niners as they're trying to run these, the jet sweeps and all the things that they try to do in the running game.
And Mark, he's played in 3 of the 4 games. He missed last year's regular season game with injury. He's been very effective all 3 times. The one time, the NFC title game a couple years ago, remember, Niners only threw 8 passes, but Kittle was mauling people blocking. Only caught 1 ball, but he was a dominant run blocker in that game. The other 2 times, he's caught 6 passes, I believe, in both games. So he's been a factor. He hasn't been Devontae Adams' factor, but he's been a big factor in all 3 meetings in the last 3 years.
We both have Green Bay. David has Green Bay to win and cover. I have Green Bay to win, but the Niners to cover in the game. It's at 5.5. I jokingly changed that point thing because I think 6 is a better number. We'll see how this ends up by the time kick comes. It's shifted a little bit towards San Francisco. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this game go back to 6 by kick, David.
I have Packers 27-20. To Sunday we go. The early one, 3:00 in Tampa, Bucks, Rams. We both had the same score, by the way.
Just opposite teams winning.
Right.
I have a late Tampa drive and a Bucks win, 30-27. David has just the opposite score with the Rams winning.
Well, actually, I wrote it down as 27-24.
27-24. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. That's right. The other game I had 30-27.
I think it's a bad matchup for the Bucks. I do. They've played each of the last 2 years. The Rams have won. Last year, the game was at Ray J, and they won. This year, week 3, the game not as close, by the way, as the final score, 34-24. Brady and the Bucks with a late touchdown to try to make it more respectable. I mean, the Rams kicked Tampa week 3. And the Bucks are more banged up now than they were then. I think if these two teams are healthy, Mark, I'd pick Tampa all day. I think the injuries catch up to them. I would love to see the champion, battered and bruised, stagger into the Lambeau ring a week from now and look across at the Packers as if to say, I know you think you're going to win, and you do look a little better entering the ring than we do, but just so you know.
Give them a little Rocky one where Creed thinks it's done, and Rock just says, come on.
Keep going.
Come on.
Yeah, keep coming, right?
And that's kind of where my thought is that Tampa's going to get through this game because Matt Stafford will find a way to throw a big pick.
The Rams have 3 guys who can rush the passer. And the Jensen injury, which isn't being talked about enough, Donald, I think, is going to dominate Jensen, who's going to play, but he's not going to be close to 100%. In fact, I don't even know if he's going to be 80. And that's see, they can chip on the right tackle. If Josh Wells is playing right tackle, and I think at some point he will be, even if Wirfs gives it a go at the beginning, I don't think he'll be able to go the distance. But they got tight ends and they got backs. I mean, also, what does Donald do? He collapses the pocket, and it's the one thing that every quarterback hates.
And, Lenny was doing a pretty good job of picking up blitzers and helping maybe up the middle. They don't have Fournette. Is Le'Veon going to be as good at picking up blitzes and picking up Donald? Where or Vaughn, or what do you do there?
Well, the thought is that they might get playoff Lenny.
I got you.
Lenny has practiced this week. Rojo has not.
But how effective is he?
Right. No doubt.
Is Le'Veon going to be willing to make those hits? Is Vaughn even capable of doing it if he has to play? So I think it's a great point that you make about Aaron Donald.
So I just think that it catches up to Tampa also not having their top 3 receivers. I mean, Jalen Ramsey can shadow Evans, who could still catch 7 balls for 100 yards and a touchdown because he's tremendous. But, there's no AB. There's no Godwin. This makes things a lot easier for the Rams. I'm taking the Rams. I know. Betting against Brady is stupid.
Well, of all the picks that I'm most scared about, it is the Bucs game because I'm with you. This matchup just seems like it's tough. And then the heavyweight battle that is the Chiefs and the Bills. I'm calling for a late field goal out of Kansas City. 33-31 is my final score in this game.
Boy, I love that. You and Pat Kirwan, by the way, the same analysis and damn near the same score. I think he had the Chiefs trailing and Mahomes driving them down for the winning score, and you obviously the same. You have them down 31-30, and then Mahomes leads them down and the field goal at the gun to win it. I think it's the Bills' time. I do. I think Buffalo's better. They don't know how to win like the Chiefs do, but I think they're better. Now they just have to go and prove it.
We're going to be way wrong on one of these games because we've got, other than you have a reasonably low score in Tennessee, Cincinnati. One of these games is going to be played under 44. Could be the Bucs Rams.
Yeah, that's true. We're probably a touch
We're way
too
high on
scoring.
the points on all of these. One of these games is going to be far lower scoring than what we have.
In fact, last week of the 6 games, the only 2 that went over were the 2 teams that were
blowouts,
dominant favorites, the Chiefs and the Bucks.
Right.
Those 2 games went over.
I will say, you two being split about the Rams and the Bucks just makes me that much more excited about the game.
Although, wait, hold on. Was the Eagles Bucks stay under?
I thought that was under
because they didn't kick the field goal at the end.
Right. I thought that was under.
But obviously, KC Pittsburgh at 42-21. That went over.
And Buffalo, the Patriots was over.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah, everything else was under.
So
because that just got to the Bucks Eagles got to 46, and I want to say it was 47.5.
So I got the home teams on Saturday, the road teams on Sunday. Marked a road winner right out of the chute, and then home teams hold serve after that. Miller and Moulton. Don't forget our poll question, because it'll be up till kickoff tomorrow. So extra time to vote. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, and vote how many road teams win. Last 4 years in the division round, home teams are 13-3, which is basically 3-1 every year. It's slightly better than that, but you catch the drift. I mean, 3-1 every year would be 12-4. Home teams have gone 13-3 in division round the last 4 years. Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when some big birthdays and anniversaries today. On the other side, the home stretch of Miller and Moulton on a Football Friday. Stay with us here on the Florida Sports Network. We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
When I text that helicopter to Jake says that's Kirby's. That's what he's traveling in. That's a regular.
Twitch chat. Whoever has been to Raymond James Stadium,
he's got a helicopter.
What can I expect? What will my first Bucks game experience be like? Do they have good fans? How's the parking too? Because I'm driving. Yes, sir. I will be there Sunday.
Today is National Squirrel Appreciation Day.
Wow.
It's my first NFL playoff game and first NFL game in, I want to say, 5 years. Is that strip club? That's cool. I should make a news package like for the show, like an audio news package, live from Tampa, Phillies Tampa experience.
Big fella's not playing for Illinois tonight against Maryland, but Maryland's been a train wreck.
There's a strip club named after 2001 Space Odyssey. No way. I'm going to look that up. Oh. There's a strip club in Tampa called 2001 Space Odyssey. That is crazy.
Philly is going to Ray J.
Nah, I didn't buy his tickets. Where should I
You're going to a good game though.
I'm probably going to
There's like 4 Hall of Famers.
I know. I'm going
more.
I'm going to one of the greatest sporting events I'll probably ever attend in my life.
I mean, Brady and Gronk are locks.
Brady, Gronk, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford.
Stafford's not a lock at all.
He's not a lock.
He's
right.
not a
right.
lock.
We're
He's
talking
borderline.
locks. We're talking locks.
Sue, by the way, has a chance.
Yeah. I mean, he's young. He's not a lock. But Jalen Ramsey, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans. Where should I take a girl to lunch or dinner in the downtown Tampa Bay area?
No idea.
Maybe the Twitch chat's got something. Ten seconds. Love you, Twitch chat.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"23 minutes before the hour. Our final segment of Miller and Moulton for the show and for the week. If you miss anything, go to millerandmoulton.com. Download one of our many podcasts. Before we get to what we normally do here to end the show, while we've been on the air, there was a upset of note in the Australian Open. Naomi Osaka knocked out in the 3rd round by American Amanda Anisimova, 7-6 in the 3rd. So the 13 seed knocked out, and an American through to the 4th round. Madison Keys, Jessica Pegula, also American women through to the 4th round. American men, not doing as well, which has been par for the course for a while now. Time now for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
going back 135 years, Mark. 1887, AAU was formed. It's a little
When was
different.
this?
It's a little different now than it was then.
1887?
1887.
1888, first talk of AAU coaches getting paid by Adidas.
Nope, no mention of Nike in the story. 1903, Harry Houdini escapes from a police station in Amsterdam.
Isn't that what he was supposed to do?
Well, it was kind of his thing. My guess is they didn't have a sense of humor about it. We leapfrog all the way ahead to 1977. On his first full day in office, Jimmy Carter pardons almost every single Vietnam War draft dodger, trying to move on. I'm sure that wasn't controversial at all.
Not at all.
No. Mark, this is for you, both of them. 1978, January 21st. The Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever album reaches number 1.
Oh, it's a dark day.
All right. This may change your tune. No pun intended. Later that day, Roberto Duran becomes the undisputed lightweight champion with a 12th round TKO of Esteban de Jesus, who was the WBC champion. The win by Duran was his 12th title defense as lightweight champion with the WBA belt. Remember, this is 78. He's still got so many great fights he's going to fight in.
Well, and it just shows, one, how they fought all the time. 12th title defense. He probably got the title 2 years prior to that.
I mean, Duran doesn't fight Leonard for another 2 years, right? Wasn't it 80 in Montreal that they fought in February? And then they fight later on in 80 in New Orleans. And he eventually fights Hearns and Iran.
Who didn't
Barkley.
he fight?
I mean, he won the title.
Then he'd go win a title at this is lightweight?
Yeah, this is lightweight in 78.
So he'll be a welterweight belt holder at some point. He wins a middleweight belt. I mean,
right, 11 years later, I think he beats Iran Barkley for the middleweight title.
Right.
In a great fight in Atlantic City.
ESPN Classic was great just for the fights. I'm sure it still exists. I don't watch it, but just for the fights, it was great.
Super Bowl 13 was on this date in 1979. This was the Steelers beating the Cowboys in the Orange Bowl again, 35-31. Bradshaw, the MVP. You know what I love is that the Steelers and the Cowboys played in 2 Super Bowls in the Orange Bowl, 4 seasons apart. The first time they played, the game was on turf. The second time they played, it was on grass. And you go back to the Orange Bowl, Super Bowls 2 and 3 were in the Orange Bowl, grass. By Super Bowl 5, they're playing on turf. They couldn't make up their mind what they were doing at the OB. 1987, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a monster class, headlined by B.B. King, Muddy Waters, and Aretha Franklin. 1989, Gretzky becomes number 2 on the all-time scoring list. Remember, he's still in the 80s. And he passes Marcel Dion to be number 2 on the scoring list. He would play another 10 years. Mark, do you remember on this day in 1990 when John McEnroe was expelled from the Australian Open?
That's right.
He's in the 4th round.
That's right. They threw him out.
Threw him out of the tournament. Too many code violations. He's in the 4th set. He's up 2-1. He's losing in the 4th set in the 4th round of the Australian Open. And he gets back-to-back code violations within like a minute of one another. And that's it. He was out. He went from 1 strike to 3, and it was over. He muttered something underneath his breath, walking away from the referee, and the referee heard it. McEnroe was literally back to the referee, kind of where the tee is on the court, walking to receive the serve on what would be the ad side of the court. And he got the second warning face to face. He turns around, he's walking away, he says something underneath his breath, and the guy heard it. Threw him out of the tournament. It's kind of a big deal back then. 30 years ago today, Bill Cowher became head coach of the Steelers.
Worked out pretty well for everybody involved.
It really has. They've had one coach since.
Right.
By the way, that should be that poll question one day if we were in Pittsburgh. So when do you think we'll have the 4th head coach in the last however many years? I mean, seriously, I mean, Tomlin's not 50, is he?
Nope.
I mean,
when's he want to retire?
Right.
Because that's how they do things in Pittsburgh.
1994, Lorena Bobbitt found not guilty by temporary insanity. Felipe, you didn't know who Meatloaf was at the beginning of the show. You probably don't know who Lorena Bobbitt is. You should look that up.
No idea.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, look
if
it up.
I were you, I wouldn't look it up.
No, look it up.
One more time.
Lorena Bobbitt.
All right.
Keep the mic off.
Yes,
when
please
you find
keep your
out.
microphone off.
I do not want you blurting out. Honestly,
I'm not kidding.
Mm-hmm. It was 4 years ago when the Jags were 6 minutes away from the Super Bowl. And they got hosed on a call. That was a turnover, and they probably win the game. But it was not ruled as such. And Patriots ended up scoring and winning 24-20. And it was 3 years ago today, Mark, that Klay Thompson made the first 10 shots of the game, all of them threes, in a 44-point effort against the Lakers. That's fairly impressive. Mark, famous people who were born on this day who are no longer with us. Stonewall Jackson, Rasputin, Carl Wallenda, Telly Savalas.
Who loves you, baby?
John Chaney, Christian Dior. Famous people born on this day who are still with us. Jack Nicklaus is 82. Billy Ocean is 72.
Get out of my dreams. Get into my car. Just lovely lyrics.
Peter Fleming, who's the answer to the trivia question, who was McEnroe's doubles partner in the early to mid 80s.
They never lost.
No. Big righty server from Jersey. He's 67. Robbie Benson and Gina Davis are both 66. Detlef Schrempf and Akeem Olajuwon are both 59. And Rick Ross is 45.
Oh, boss. Wolfman Jack, born today in 1938. That's the only one that you didn't have there.
Damn. And that, Mark, was... Today was the day.
Leads us seamlessly into...
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Sweden for a crazy good story. 71-year-old Swedish man was shoveling snow in his driveway. He has a heart attack. We're telling this in the good, obviously, because he survived. He's in the small category of people who survive sudden cardiac arrest, and he did so because of the quick delivery of a defibrillator that was delivered by drone.
Wow.
Right?
Whoa.
A phone call was placed immediately. The drone dropped off the defibrillator, and then people there were able to help. It's absolutely amazing. For the bad, we go to Miami, where American Airlines flight to London was returned after a jackass refused to put his mask on. A woman was escorted off the plane at Miami International Airport without incident and was immediately put on American's internal no-fly list. There were 129 passengers and 14 crew members on the plane who had to turn around in the Boeing 777 less than an hour into the transatlantic flight because, well, she wouldn't put a mask on.
That's not a short flight either. I don't know if you're aware, Miami to London. That's so now we added an hour there, hour back.
Right.
I got to do just probably another hour getting her off, a rest, whatever.
It's also most likely on a Boeing 747. So that's
777, if you actually said that during the story.
He's still looking up Lorena Bobbitt.
No,
he's
a little miffed after he found that out. Finally, the ugly, David. We go to Minnesota, near Albertville, where I-94 was closed down when a truck lost its load of potatoes and the spuds froze on the road.
Spuds is the nickname of the high school in Moorhead, Minnesota. The Moorhead Spuds. It's right on the North Dakota border.
those spuds were not the ones that were freezing to the road, and special equipment needed to be brought out to the scene because the spilled potatoes were freezing on the highway. Traffic was closed except for emergency vehicle, and finally cleanup was done. No injuries were reported. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, January the 21st, 2021.
Got the Australian Open going on for another week plus. Think about it. There are no announcers on site for the Australian Open. There are going to be no announcers on site for the Olympics. I mean, Mark, we all know how it works in every society. The minute you can do something and you can do it easier and cheaper, how many businesses go back to doing it the other way again?
None.
I mean, yeah, the coverage isn't going to be nearly as good.
But how much money are we going to save?
Exactly. I mean, Chris Fowler and company may have gone to their last Australian Open.
And I will say, of all the sports to cover, tennis seems to be the easiest that you could do from watching on a television.
I mean, I will say, all the World Cup radio coverage that's been done has been done from the States. People sitting in booths just calling it off of monitors. I mean, I know why in the football broadcasting world that we're all worried that they're going to start, because at lower level basketball and football games, they have had broadcasters not on site. A buddy of mine who's a spotter has been the only one in the booth at games. He's got a camera on his spotting board. The play-by-play guy's in a studio in Connecticut, calling the game off a monitor, looking at a picture on the screen with a .223. Robert Williams has the ball.
I think football would be one of the last ones, but they're going to do the Olympics and hockey, and I can't imagine calling hockey off of a monitor, David.
It's unbelievable. It really is. Hockey tonight. The Lightning are in Anaheim to face the slumping Ducks. The Panthers are in Vancouver after their 6-0 win last night. The Canucks have been red hot under Bruce Boudreau, and they'll be looking for a little payback because the Panthers spanked them a week ago in Broward. The big one, though, tonight is the Rangers Hurricanes for first, really in the East. It's in Carolina. They're 2 points back.
Our producer sometimes gets a little full of himself. He's giving signals to how much time's left as he's shooting bow and arrows. And I'm like, that's kind of an important thing, the time.
Right.
I'm doing the 3-point bow and arrow celebration.
But see, I'm looking at him.
Right. And Mark just needs a time cue.
I don't need theater.
But the 3-minute mark is always my favorite because I practice my bench celebrations, of course.
Well, probably the place you know best.
There you go. Hey, bench mob.
LeBron's in Orlando. Lakers against the Magic. LA trying to get back to 500. Don't laugh. It's the type of game where if they lose, Vogel gets fired and Westbrook gets traded. The Heat are in Atlanta again. Third time they're playing them in like a week. They've won the first two.
Well, that's good because the Atlanta can't play any worse than they're playing right now.
No, it's funny. A team that was 2 games away from the NBA Finals, and they're talking about blowing it up.
Can't get out of their own way at the moment. Articles being written of what they can do to fix it, and not just in the AJC, if you know what I mean.
Right. So Miller and Moulton. Mark going with the Bengals and 3 home teams. I'm going with the 2 road teams on Sunday.
And for those wondering, David heads to Green Bay right after the show. He is dressed in shorts.
Yes, shorts and a golf shirt. But I have the clothes that I will likely change into and the jacket that I will wear at the very top of my suitcase. So when I grab the bag, I will just open it up and change.
And I do know your Fox guys like the booth open. They like this to be winter.
Oh, yeah. And we're like 5 stories up and it's completely open. No, it's freezing. There's no, I mean, I can handle it only because A, I'm fat, and B, I did 5 years in Fargo. But no. Everyone in the booth is, yeah.
This will be interesting. I'd like a couple of booth pictures sent to me.
Really?
Yeah. Like a pregame when you get up there. I mean, I think that's cool. It's freezing, but it's really cool, David.
Ed Svita, who's Joe Buck's numbers guy, he will be wearing 2 pairs of pants.
I would be too. Hand warmers. I'd see if I could plug in a heated blanket and wrap it around me while I did the game.
There will be heaters, and there will be those little, things for the hands.
They're wonderful.
Miller and Moulton. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great weekend. Enjoy your football. There are only 7 games left, and 4 of them are between now and Monday. Thanks for listening.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed